Property manager Young Lee is suing his ex-girlfriend, 23-year-old receptionist Kristen Beck, for a loan to fix her car and for the return of his '92 Acura. Kristen is countersuing, claiming Young vandalized her car during a fight.
Yeah, this is case number 516 on the calendar in the matter of Lee versus Beck. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat.
Mr. Lee, the defendant was your girlfriend for a while, and you claimed some loans to her for car repairs. And in addition to the loan for car repairs, you say that you loaned her a car of yours, and she refuses to return it.
Yes, Your Honor.
You want the car back.
Yes.
The defendant says that you fixed her car because you always insisted on making sure that her car was in running order. There was never any discussion of her paying you back for fixing her car, and that you, in fact, gave her this car, and she is counterclaiming because she says that after she broke up with you, you broke up with him?
He broke up with me.
And also...
Just a second. That you came to the house, to her house, and you disabled her car, which you claim is your car, and she wants the money that she had to spend or will have to spend to put it back into running condition. So how long was this lovely relationship that you enjoyed, Mr. Lee?
Year and a half. But I think we broke up like 3-4 times in between.
The natural course of events, Mr. Lee. When did you loan her this car?
First of all, she had her own car, and this car was keep on breaking down. She had no money, so that's what I do. I fix car. That's, you know, my side job. So she has her car. She's always breaking down. Sometimes she helps me pick up my daughter. She has a daughter on her own, and this car is like unsafe. So I keep on spending money on it. I spent $500 one time because her water pump went out, so we did the timing belt, everything. I had the receipt. Then maybe like a month later, our alternator goes out. I fixed it. She said she's going to pay me the money. I said, I spent $500 on your car. Well, I'm going to go to my mom and get some money. I'll pay you back. She goes to her mother's house, come back with $40. Here's 40. I'm like, I spent 500 for, you know. She had no job, so I told her, when you get a job, pay me.
Did you live together?
No.
So she was doing you a favor?
Well, one night I told her, you spend the night.
Just a second. That doesn't answer my question, Mr. Lee. Uncross your hand. She was doing you a favor by picking up your daughter.
Yes.
And you didn't want your daughter to drive in a car that was unsafe, I assume.
Yes. And plus,
is that right?
She had no job. I was paying her rent. I was supporting her.
Just a second. You were paying her rent where she was living. How much was her rent every month?
$500 a month.
And how many times did you pay her rent?
I think I paid 3 times.
When?
2004.
When in 2004? Before or after you loaned her money to fix her car?
After. No, right around that time. June, May, I think it was August, I don't know.
All right. May, June, August, certainly after March, after you loaned her money to fix her car.
Yes.
And did she promise to pay you back the rent money too?
No, because she was helping me picking up my daughter, so she had no job, so I was helping her out on that. Is there something?
Shh. Shh. Are you working now?
Yes. Or no, not anymore. I just lost my job last week.
That's what I'm asking you. Are you working now?
No.
Is my question.
I'm not.
Well, your arrangement with her was that she would pay you back when she got a job. She's not working.
She never worked. I got her that job.
Do you understand what I'm saying to you, sir? Even if I believe you that they were loans, and I'm not so sure that they were loans, because you and the defendant had an intimate relationship, you were paying her rent, you were supporting her, and I cannot imagine that there was an expectation that she was supposed to pay you back the few $100s that you were spending to fix her car, especially since that was your business to fix cars. Now, let's get to this car that you say belongs to you, that you merely loaned to her. Tell me about that. When did you loan her your car, and what kind of car did you loan to her?
It's a 92 Acura Integra.
And when did she take possession of it?
June.
And tell me about how she took possession of the car.
She didn't take possession. She had a car, her car, always breaking down, that she had no money to fix, that I was fixing all the time. She said she'd pay me back, but She had no job, so she couldn't pay me back.
That's right. So
Okay.
we're not taking care of that. That took care of the loan.
So I bought this car because it was a good deal. I fixed it up. I was going to sell it. But since her car's always breaking down, I told her, here, why don't you drive this for a while? But the tranny's not so good. So in 2 years, I want to sell it before the tranny goes out.
Just a second. So here's this 1992 car. You can use it. But in 2 years, you have to give it back to me because the transmission's going to go out, and I want to sell it before the transmission goes out. Is that what he just said to me?
That's what he just said.
All right. So you gave her the car. Did you also give her the title to the car?
No, because she crashed her car with my daughter in it. Her driving is not good, so I don't want to be, I'll lend it to her, but I don't want to be reliable. So I bought the car. Registration, I pay for it. Insurance.
Just a second. I'm asking you a question, and you're going to give me an answer.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Young Lee says ex-girlfriend Kristen Beck owes for a loan to fix her car. Young also claims Kristen won't return his car.
Was the car registered in her name?
Yes. But the pink
And
slip.
the car is titled in her name?
Yes. But she signed it. I have the pink slip. She signed it over to me.
Show me everything.
Show you what?
Show me the pink slip where she signed it over to you.
You're not letting me finish my story.
I'm asking you questions, Mr.
I had
Lee.
the pink slip. She wanted to see the pink slip. So I gave it to, well, I didn't give it to her. I went over to her house, gave the land, she wasn't there, so I gave it to landlord. You know what, every time we're breaking up, she comes back saying sorry. I think it's for the car she's coming back. Because every time we broken up, she gave me the car back. 3 times I took the car back. Okay? But she always come back, sorry, sorry. And she wants the car back. So I'm thinking, this relationship is all about the car. That's what. It is about the car because she sold her car.
You may be right. You may be right.
She
It's
sold
all
her
about the
car for $1,000. I told her that she's trying to give me $500. The car that she sold it for $1,000. $500, she's trying to give it to me.
Did you take the $500?
No.
Well, why didn't you take the $500? Because according to you, she owed you a lot more money from the car repairs.
Because I don't know what she was giving me that $500 for. I said, what's this $500? Is this the money that you owe me from the car and all the money that I spent, you know, like rent, everything? And she said, no, this money is, I sold my car, so I'm giving you $500 because you bought me a car. I'm like, wait a minute. I told you this the second time. I didn't give you that car. I lent it to you.
You did.
I did.
You did.
Because I have the pink slip.
She has the registration. Car's registered.
She has
in
the
her
registration, but I have the pink slip.
Is the car registered in your name?
Yes, it is.
Do you have registration for the car?
You know, I don't. I have the registration.
Can I see it, please?
It's been under my name ever since the beginning, and he never.
Let me just see it. Mr. Lee, you should have taken the $500, sir.
Your Honor?
Should have taken the $500.
500.
June 10th, 2004, the car was registered in her name.
It was never in my name. It was the person that I bought it. It was his name. I never even put it in my name because I'm still working on it. After I'm done with it, I was going to sell it, but I lent it to her. So I told her, put it in your name, but when the pink slip comes, sign it. I have the pink slip already signed to me.
Show me.
Okay? Then later on, she wanted the pink slip. I gave it to her landlord. Then she wanted to break up, whatever. We got into a fight, okay? I wanted my car back. You want to break up? Fine. I want my car back. She didn't want to give it to me. Okay? Give me the pink slip. She said, my landlord has it. Why does your landlord has my pink slip?
You just told me you gave it to her landlord.
I gave it to the landlord, but she's supposed to give it to her. But she's saying she never did. And I have my witness here.
Not interested in your witness, Mr. Lee. The relationship didn't work out. The rent that you paid voluntarily.
Fine. I'm not asking for the rent.
Just a second. Well, just a second. But 2 seconds ago you said to me, what are you giving me this $500 for? I paid your rent. I paid your car expenses. What is this $500 for? The rent, the car expenses? Listen, it didn't work out. How old are you?
39.
How old are you?
23.
So there's a 16-year age difference between the two of you. She's a pretty girl. You liked her. She was helpful with your child. I'm not saying that she didn't take advantage of you. Maybe she did. But if the worst she did to you was take advantage of you for a 1992 car, I suggest to you, Mr. Lee, you gotta. I suggest to you, Mr. Lee, you have to get over it.
No, excuse me, Your Honor. Okay, the car is mine. I lent it to her. I witnessed. Okay, I put it in her name. We got into a huge fight. I want my car back. She put a restraining order on me because.
Mr. Lee, get over it, sir. Get over it. Did you go? That's all. Case dismissed. Put him outside. Listen to me. The countersuit's dismissed. I suggest you get security out there for them.
I wasn't surprised what happened in there. I kind of knew he would have done something to upset her. It was out of despite of the restraining order. Because, you know, like, I had this on him, so he just wanted to, because I want to get back with him.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hackett versus Duval. Step forward, please.
Tree surgeon James Hackett is suing medical assistant Patricia Duval for cashing his winning lottery ticket after he lost it.
Mr. Hackett, it is your claim that the defendant cashed your winning lottery ticket.
Yes, ma'am.
Defendant says she found it. It's hers.
That's correct.
When did you purchase this lottery ticket, sir?
I purchased it on a Saturday. It was October the 2nd of last year. And on that day, I went down to the lottery agency and found they weren't open. So I put it in my wallet and decided...
Just a second. When was the drawing?
It was drawn that day.
The same day?
Yes.
Where did you watch the numbers?
It was on a TV screen in the store. The numbers came up. It was the first game. I won. I was amazed.
Had you played those numbers before, or was it a random?
Three of the numbers are birthdays. My mother's, and one of my other deceased brother's birthday. The other three are random numbers that come up a lot. So I played them together and happened to win.
Okay. Where did you purchase the ticket?
Chelmsford, Massachusetts.
Where?
It was a convenience store in Massachusetts.
When you found out that you won on these numbers, what did you do with your winning ticket?
I brought it up to the counter, and the store manager, what he does is a general practice. In that store, they photocopy it and hang it up on a little display thing to tout the winning numbers.
So he photocopied your lottery ticket.
He did, fortunately.
What happened to the ticket, Mr. Hackett?
Well, the following Monday, I went back to work. I'm a professional tree climber.
A tree climber, what is that?
I climb trees and reduce them, take them down. I do difficult takedowns.
Okay.
And I did all the hard work in the morning, and there was one easy one. And 21 years of climbing, this one little stupid tree I'm climbing, a branch broke. I fell out of the tree 12 feet. I hit the ground. I break 8 ribs, my wrist. I puncture a lung, and the ambulance comes to get me, and I can hear a chopper coming. I can't breathe, and I have the guys flip me over on my back and take my gear off, my saddle, my hooks, my chainsaw, all the stuff, my helmet, was all my safety gear.
Is that when you claim that you lost your lottery ticket?
They cut my pants off, my wallet.
Is that what you claim?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Where exactly was this? Where did this happen?
In Berlin, Massachusetts.
Is that where you live, in Berlin?
No, ma'am.
Where do you live?
Douglas, Mass.
Were you in Berlin?
Not Berlin, no.
Where did you find the lottery ticket?
Northborough, Mass, at a Dunkin' Donuts parking lot.
How far is that from Berlin?
I couldn't tell you.
No.
It's a town or two away, ma'am.
So it's one town away.
Yeah, I believe so.
Good. Now we come to you.
Okay.
You found the lottery ticket in a Dunkin' Donuts parking lot,
Yes,
one
I did.
town away from where he lost his lottery ticket, right?
Yes.
And what did you do with it?
Well, my husband and I came out of the Dunkin' Donuts and we were going to our car, and I seen it on the ground, and I picked it up and looked at it. It also had like a confirmation with the ticket saying that apparently it was a winner. So it was late, it was about 6:37 at night.
What date?
October 7th.
Okay.
And so I picked it up, and the next day I went to the lottery agent, and sure enough, it was a winner, and it wasn't signed, so I signed it, and I did cash it.
Cash it. Okay. And how much money did you get?
$1,600.
Ma'am, I have a problem with that.
Now, Mr. Hackett, after you realized that your lottery ticket was missing, you contacted the lottery office?
Yes, I boogied down there from, as soon as I got out of the hospital.
And at that point, you went down there with the numbers that you had.
Yes.
Did you go back to the store that had posted the winning lottery?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let me see it, please.
Ma'am, she's saying she's found...
Oh, it's a Keno.
It's a keynote.
Keno.
Ma'am. I'm not in the habit of playing it, but if I have a fistful of dollars, I'll play it once in a while.
Okay. So you went down to them, got this.
Yes, ma'am.
Got this.
Unfortunately, they had photocopied that.
Right.
3 of those numbers are birthdays that mean something to me.
Don't say
Sorry, ma'am.
You never can tell. So far, you're doing okay.
But, ma'am, I don't know this gentleman at all.
I don't
Never
know you
seen
either.
him before in
Mr.
my
Hackett,
life.
did I give you an opportunity to speak? Was she quiet when you were speaking?
Yes, ma'am.
Don't interrupt her.
I've never seen him before in my life.
You don't have to see him.
And there was no signature on it. And like any normal person, if you find something that's worth something and there's no signature, no ownership, then you're going to keep it, you know?
I am satisfied that Mr. Hackett lost his lottery ticket.
Well, yes.
And based upon this, I am satisfied that the winning lottery ticket that you found belonged to Mr. Hackett.
Ma'am, I hit it.
I'm speaking!
Sorry. I'm sorry.
Let's say, Miss Duval, that you're walking along the street and you find a 4-carat emerald-cut diamond. Doesn't have a name, doesn't have an address, doesn't have anything. And you take it home. And you say, gee, this looks great. I'm going to size it and wear it on my finger. And you do. Then you're having your nails done a week later. And the woman at the next counter is sitting there and she says, it's a nice ring. And you say, yeah, I found it. She said, well, I lost my ring last week. Do you mind if we take it in to the jeweler? Because I have my GIA that you get when you buy a diamond, and it maps all the little dots in a diamond so it can identify, you know, one diamond from another. You go with her to the gemologist, and he said, that diamond belongs to that report.
Yes, and I would agree. Yes, I would agree.
That's her diamond.
Yes.
Even though you found it.
Take
Just a
it back,
second.
yes.
Even though you found it.
Yep.
He lost his lottery ticket. His problem is not with you finding it and cashing it. His problem is once you found out that it was his lottery ticket, you shouldn't have kept the money.
I just found out when I got notified.
Oh, there we go. So we have no problem.
But,
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,600. Thank you.
Your Honor.
Parties are excused. We'll step out.
I like Judge Judy. I knew that if I got in front of her, that she'd see it that way.
He should have signed his ticket.
The ticket was in my wallet. It couldn't have grown legs. Somebody had to take it out of there.
I don't know how it got to where it was, but I did find it.
It was my money.
It wasn't signed. If it was signed, I would have contacted him and given it back to him.
Finders keepers? No, not in this case. It's my ticket. I'm the winner.
I'm just happy that he got whatever he was looking for out of this.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter, White versus Griffin. Step forward.
20-year-old student Vincent White is suing his college classmate, 22-year-old Bobby Griffin, for vandalizing his car. Bobby claims Vincent was spreading rumors about her and her friends.
You all go to college together?
Yes.
Got the idea? All right. Mr. White, it is your claim that Miss Griffin vandalized your car.
Yes, ma'am.
And Miss Griffin says, well, she in fact participated in the vandalizing of your car. She sprayed it with a fire extinguisher or something, but it was not the defendant who caused the major part of the damage. It was friends of hers who keyed your car, and she feels as if she took responsibility by giving you $8 for car wash, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, first we're going to find out a little bit about it, and then I'll deal with your erroneous assumption. Why did you vandalize his car?
He was going around spreading rumors about me and my friends. We tried to confront him at the dorm.
When was he allegedly spreading rumors about
This
you?
was around November the 11th, 2004.
What was he saying?
He was calling me and my other friends, and we were trying to confront him about what happened, or why was he going around saying this when he knows it's a lie.
Okay. He was calling you bad names.
Yes, ma'am.
And you and your friends tried to find him?
Yes, ma'am.
To confront him?
Yes, ma'am.
How many friends?
It was me, Stephanie Gates, Yolanda, and Natalie.
So you and your friends went to look for him?
Yes, ma'am. Well, we were already at the dorm, so we were calling, and he's like, well, I'm going to be where I'm at. So we go to his room.
What year of college are you in?
I'm a freshman.
And what about you?
I am a sophomore.
And he said to you, I'm going to be where I'm at?
Yeah.
I would say, stay with it.
So we go to his room, you know, to see if he's in there. But his roommate, he was saying that he wasn't in there. The other girl that was with us, Natalie, she went and took the fire extinguisher and broke the door handle. I didn't know about this incident until I was walking down the breezeway when his roommate came out and said, well, one of y'all gonna fix my door. And I automatically turned around like, you're not gonna disrespect me like that. So I go to talk to him about it like, we're not no. And he's still constantly like arguing, and he pushes me. I let the first one slide.
Just a second, who pushed you?
His roommate.
His roommate?
Yeah.
What does that have to do with his car?
I'm getting to that.
Well, let us get there.
So he pushes me a second, and the third time he pushed me, I punched him back. And they kind of grabbed me. So we're still trying to call him to talk to him. We go down and stand by his car. He don't ever come out. Yolanda, the one that keyed his car, that told him numerous times that she keyed his car, she started keying his car. I took the fire extinguisher and I sprayed it down. The same night I sprayed it, it was raining outside. So I fell. I didn't do any damage. And the same night it happened, we talked to him. He was making it seem like everything was fine. We gave him $8 so he can go get his car washed. At then, we thought everything was fine. Everything was done and over with. Now, all of a sudden, we come back for second semester. Now I'm going to court. Why am I going to court when he know I did not key his car? And I have told him I did not key his car. If I do something, I'm the type of person, if I do something messed up, I'm going to tell you, yeah, I did it.
May I see the damage to your car, please? Okay. Step up. Your name?
Stephanie Gates.
All right, Miss Gates, what did you do to Mr. White's car?
I didn't do anything to his car.
You didn't do anything?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so it was just a couple of people in this little mob
Yes,
that
ma'am.
damaged his car?
It was 3, actually.
Okay, good. And they were friends of yours because that's what he was doing. He was telling bad things about you and your 2 friends, right?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Can I see the estimate, please?
Come on now, you had like 5 papers when I seen you.
All right. Now, Miss Griffin, you appear to be an intelligent young lady.
Yes, ma'am.
Got to stick with your English classes, but I think that you probably have potential. But I'm going to give you an exercise in criminal jurisprudence.
She didn't tell you to sit down.
Oh, I'm sorry.
See how smart she is? I'm going to give you an example. Many years ago, when I was a judge in the family court, there was a young woman who got onto the subway, and she was wearing big hoop earrings like your friend is wearing. And a group of 4 girls got on the subway, and they went up to this girl who was on her way to school. She went to Fashion Institute of Technology. And they said, give us your earrings. And she said, no, kid, I'm not giving you the earrings. One of the girls grabbed her arm. Another one of the girls grabbed her hair and pulled her hair over. The third girl stabbed her in the back and stole her earrings and killed her.
Well, I don't think that's something like
Listen, I'm trying to make you understand what this verdict is about. The girl who stabbed her was tried as an adult in the Supreme Court. And the 2 other girls, the one who grabbed her by the arm, the one who pulled her hair, they said, we didn't kill her. We didn't even have a knife. We were just messing around with her a little bit. We never thought our friend was going to stab her. We're not guilty. We shouldn't be held responsible. You know what I said to them after I convicted them of murder? I said, but for the fact, you see, this girl who had the knife, she couldn't have killed her if it wasn't for the 2 of you. First of all, you're acting as a pack. And when you act as a pack, the pack gets certain energy. And second, if you hadn't immobilized her, and if it was just one-on-one, in all probability, that young girl would be alive. It's because of the 3 of you acting together. You gave her the ability to stab her in the back. You're all equally as guilty. If it wasn't for the fact that you and all of your friends in a pack were out hunting for him, who hasn't said a word? Nice tie, by the way. If it wasn't for this group looking for him, pulling the fire extinguisher off a wall, going out and waiting for him near his car, spraying it with the entire content of the fire extinguisher, somebody else said, now you sprayed it, now I'm going to key the car. Never would have happened. So I'm going to tell you what your responsibility is. You're responsible, you, jointly and singularly are responsible for $1,070. Now, if you choose, Miss Griffin, to sue the other two girls and say, listen, I now have a judgment against me for $1,070, but you two participated as much as I did, so each one of us should share that responsibility, you go ahead and find them and sue them. He chose you to sue. That's fine. He doesn't have to be fair. He's the victim. He's the victim. He's the one whose car got vandalized. So he's the victim. And if he's a jerk, and if he's saying stupid things and being disrespectful, one day he'll get his. Now, I don't know whether you said anything bad about her. You have a mother?
Yes, I do.
She alive?
Yes, she is.
Would you like it if somebody called her the name that she alleges you called her?
I would not.
So you have to be respectful of other people's feelings, sir.
Understood.
That's what you're supposed to go to college to learn if you didn't learn it growing up in your house. So you're supposed to at least learn how to be a responsible adult when you're in college. That's what somebody is paying all that money for. In the meantime, Miss Griffin, I'm entering a judgment for $1,070, and if you want to find your two friends and sue them for their share, you go right ahead and do it. Thank you. That's all.
That was our excuse. You may step out.
I ain't key that man car. And you know Yolanda went up to you about so many times and told you that she keyed your car.
He say, she say. It's really, that's what it is.
You can sit over there and act like you Mr. Innocent and all that. You just want to be on TV.
A friend of hers told her that I said something that is very middle schoolish, that is very childish, and I'm above that.
It's not even about just keying the car. It's also about the the fire extinguisher on the car.
We talked to him the same exact night, and the boy made it seem like everything was fine.
It really don't matter to me. I just know what was done. I know what was not done.
He calling somebody. You need to look at other people besides me. I'm too thug to you.
I don't have no problem with it. At least nothing be said about me and nothing said to me. I'm fine.
Can I go now? Because I'm getting upset.
Assistant Director of Human Resources, Naheed McGowan, is suing hair salon owner Manouk Kasabian for damaging her hair and scalp during a Japanese hair straightening process. Naheed also claims Manouk is guilty of sexual misconduct.
Yes, this is case number 456 on the calendar in the matter of McGowan versus Kasabian. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Ms. McGowan, it is your claim that the defendant, who either owns or works in a beauty salon, straightened your hair, and he did so in an unprofessional manner, causing your hair to fall out and become dry, etc., etc. And in addition, you claim that he was unprofessional in the way he spoke to you during the course of his hair treatment. You want him to compensate you for all that you went through in the amount of $5,000. Mr. Kasabian says that he performed a service for you. He did so in a professional manner. And as a good businessman, when you came in and complained, he gave you a partial refund, but he certainly doesn't owe you any more. That's your defense.
That's right.
Okay. What kind of process were you putting on your hair, Miss McGowan?
Well, I actually went in to have my hair. It's called Japanese hair straightening. And I went in.
Had you ever had this Japanese hair straightening before?
No.
What prompted you to do it?
I had a curly hair, so I wanted to just kind of save time getting ready in the morning because I have a small child. So that's why I wanted to do this process.
How did you find the defendant's salon?
Well, actually, where I live, that's where his salon is. And then I actually went to post office, and I saw this huge sign. It says Japanese hair straightening, and I haven't seen that particular sign anywhere. So I assumed that he knows what he's doing.
So you went into his shop based upon the sign and based upon the fact that he was conveniently located?
Correct.
All right. Go ahead. Tell me what happened.
And I went in and I saw Mr. Caspian, and I asked him how much it would cost for have this process done, and he said it's about $300. I said, but that is a little bit over my budget, and he says, well, I'm not busy right now, so I would do it for you for $250. And I said, do you have time now? And he said, yes. I said, that's fine. And then immediately, you know, I was sat on a chair, and then his assistant, Barry, started putting chemical on my hair. And then she proceeded to tell me, well, it's going to be kind of uncomfortable, this process. I said, how is that? She says, well, you have to go through a process of putting, you know, put you under hot steaming cap, and then we have to rinse your hair with a very cold water. I said, okay. And she says, you have to go through this process at least 3 times. At this time, I was like really afraid, but I had chemical in my hair, so I sat there and I endured. And then after she was done with everything, she proceeded to tell me well, your hair is like really uneven because now that you have your hair straightened. And then Mr. Caspian came over and he proceeded to cut my hair, and then I was wearing a cap, you know, one of those robes they give you when you're going through the hair processing thing. And then I noticed that my chest was kind of showing, and then he was looking through the mirror. And I immediately, as soon as I realized that, I covered myself. And then he proceeded to ask me whether I was married. And I said yes. And then he says, oh, I hear you have an accent. Where are you from? And I said, well, I'm Persian. And then he says, well, I hear the Middle Eastern women, they're really good in bed. And they cook and they clean and bring home money and they give really good service to their husband. Do you do that for your husband? And I was like really shocked by this time, and I tried to keep my composure. I was so upset at this time.
Why didn't you just tell him it's none of his business?
Well, Your Honor, as a child, I was sexually assaulted. And then this whole situation, when you're sexually assaulted by anyone, when you're a child, the whole thing came up for me. And I was very upset at that time. I was actually retrieving. I was thinking, okay, this is not happening to me as a grown woman. And I was very upset. And then he proceeded to tell his assistant, pointing at this one woman, and he says, oh, she's very pretty. And then he pointed at her butt, and he said that I'd like to have some of that. And then I was just so shocked. And meanwhile, I'm like totally seeing my hair is just, you know, I'm so upset about my hair, and this whole thing is happening. And then I asked his assistant, I said, is he married? And she proceeded to tell me yes. I said, and he goes, but he also has a kid. I said, does that make you uncomfortable? He makes comments like that. And she proceeded to tell me, well, you just get used to it. And then they also told me that I have to buy some products in order to have the special, you know.
All right, so far, listen to me, Ms. McGowan. So far, I don't hear lawsuit, madam. I hear you didn't have a nice experience, but I don't hear lawsuit.
Okay.
So far, what I'm hearing is you went in to get your hair processed. You'd never had this process before. You didn't ask enough questions. When they straightened your hair, it was uneven because certainly curly hair is cut differently than straight hair, so he cut your hair. And while he was cutting your hair, if I believe everything that you say, he acted like an idiot. He said things that were inappropriate. Okay, inappropriate doesn't equate to lawsuit.
Right.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Inappropriate translates to, he says stupid things.
Right.
You know, you're married, do you cook, do you clean, do you service your husband? I hear women from where you are do that. It's, you know, if I believe you, and he's going to tell me it didn't happen, I'm sure, right?
Exactly, it did not happen.
Okay, but if I believe you, madam, that's not a lawsuit.
Exactly.
So then let's get on to the lawsuit, please.
Okay. When I got home, I had a massive headache. I actually had my scalp is starting to feel really raw, and I called urgent care. So I went to see a doctor.
Let me see the report from urgent care.
This is the urgent care. And the receipt. They gave me Vicodin. They told me.
Just. Are you showing me something from a psychiatrist?
Well, I'm showing you a couple of things. The very first page is from urgent care. I have a very bad headache, and my scalp was completely raw, and that's why they put me on Vicodin, which I've never taken before.
Okay.
And then after that, I couldn't sleep for 3 consecutive days and called my primary physician, and he asked me to go to psychotherapist. And that's what you see, is a psychotherapist.
What else?
And then during this time, I actually went to another beauty salon who they knew how to retrieve my hair, and these are the costs. That I have the receipt, and also some of the product that I had to get to.
What was? I don't hear anything wrong with your hair.
My hair is chemically burned, Your Honor.
Are you telling me that less than a month after this treatment, you went to another hair salon and had hair color, highlights, and a deep conditioner?
That's
Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Madam, listen to me very carefully. Common sense suggests that if your hair is burned because you've had it straightened or because you've had it curled and have a permanent, and if it's not in good condition, the one thing you don't do is put more chemicals on it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Shahid McGowan says hair salon owner Manu Kasabian owes for damaging her hair during a Japanese hair straightening process.
I'm ready to listen to you, Mr. Kasabian. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. First of all, Your Honor, this lady, she walks into the salon like a month before she came back in. She said she saw the sign and she wanted to have like some knowledge about the way it's done. So I took the time and I explained to her from A to Z how it's done. So she left. Came back a month later, she just walked in. No appointment, nothing.
Listen, Miss McGowan, Miss McGowan, look at me. Don't speak. Did you hear how quiet he was when you were testifying? And you were testifying for 12 minutes? Listen! Did you hear how quiet he was when you were testifying? He didn't say anything. That's what you're supposed to do. Don't tell me shy. Don't tell me whatever brings back. I'm not interested. I want you to be quiet and let him testify. You had your turn. We understand each other?
Yes.
Okay, so she came in once, then she came back again July 13th.
So she came back the second time. She just walks in, no appointment, nothing. She says, I made up my mind, I want my hair done. I go, okay, sure, I'm not that busy, I'll do it for you now. So we started working on her. My assistant started to work on her, and then I came and I did the chemical straightening myself. During this time, I look at her hair, and her hair is like very uneven. So I said, can I trim it for you, fix it up? She said yes, so I went ahead and I cut it for her. And then she's saying that I'm looking at her hair through the mirror. How am I going to look at her breast, Your Honor? She has a cape on it, she's covered up. And then she paid for her hair, she was very happy, she left. Now 3 days later, she comes back in by herself. I'm very busy at the salon, I had like about 5 people we're working on. And she says to me, my hair is fuzzy, I need to talk to you. So I look at her from a distance, I go, come closer, let me look. My hands are full of color. I'm working on this lady here.
Which lady?
Miguera.
You were
She's
a
my
customer?
client.
Yes. Just a customer?
Yes, Your
Step up. Tell me your name.
Mayada Cillian.
Do you recall being in the shop, being a customer in the shop on the day when Miss McGowan came in?
Yes, Your Honor.
You don't know him from any other place other than the salon?
No.
Okay. Tell me what you heard.
Well, he was coloring my hair at the time that the lady walked in, and she was complaining about her hair being fuzzy. And to look at it, and he tells her, well, it went under chemical process. It's going to take time for your hair to rejuvenate, but it looks fine to me. You can't wash it until 5 days, but it could be touched up with a blow dryer or straight ironing. And she goes, well, I don't have a straight ironing. He goes, well, I know you don't have it, but we sell it here. They sell it everywhere else. If you'd like to purchase one, it's fine. Or you can just touch it up with a blow dryer. And she was still unhappy. She was complaining and started talking loud to him.
What did she say?
She said, well, that was not professional. I'm not happy at all with my hair, and you're really not giving me the attention. He says, if you want to take an appointment, I can condition your hair for you, give it back some moisture. You're more than welcome to come back. But now I can't do anything. I'm with a client. I am sorry that you feel that way. She walks out unhappy and leave and come back maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes later with her husband doing another big scene.
Well, what happened when she came back with her husband?
She came back with her husband. He was done coloring my hair. I had the process on. He was cutting another lady's hair. And she walks in with her husband. Her husband asked him to step out. And Mr. Manouk says, I can't leave my client and step out. He goes, if you don't step out, I'm going to make a big scene in your salon. So Mr. Manouk said, you already made a scene. Let's just hear it, what you have to say. He just started yelling and cussing and using bad words, and all the clients were surprised. I mean, he had other people sitting there that they were really upset and got up and started telling them, please, to be quiet and calm down. And he won't do that. They were both upset. They threatened to do a lawsuit, and they said, we want our money back. You're not giving us our money. He says, I can't give you the money for something I did right. They wanted the money back for their product that they purchased. He says, no problem. You bring the product. I give you the money back.
Your Honor, she wanted to keep the product and have me pay her back the money for the product and the hair.
So after 5-10 minutes of being loud and talking, Mr. Manouk just asked him to leave because it was a really big scene in the salon.
Mr. McGowan, you want to step up here, sir? Why did you go into the salon that day?
Well, after seeing my wife very upset and crying for several days, couldn't sleep for 3 or 4 days, I finally asked her what is wrong, and then she told me that she went to his salon and he didn't have the time of day for her. So she said, will you come back with me? I just want my money back. And so we went into the salon. I said, Mr. Kasabian, we need to talk to you about her hair situation.
She said you made a scene in the salon.
Here's what I said. I said, we need to talk to you about your hair salon. Can you talk to us now? No, I'm busy. I said, you wouldn't talk to my wife a while ago. I said, you need to talk to her now. Either you talk to her now or everybody's going to hear it.
Well, why would you do that, Mr. McGowan? That's outrageous. Sir, listen to me. That's outrageous. Sir, your wife walks in the middle of a business day. She wants his attention while he's working on somebody else. And because she wasn't instantaneously gratified, she went home. She cried to you. You went back to the store and he was working on somebody else. And you said, if you don't take care and speak to my wife immediately, you made a scene. Well, for you and your wife to walk into a business that's a busy salon and make a scene because you didn't get instant gratification is outrageous.
Your Honor, he burned my hair.
And you reburned it 3 weeks later.
No, I didn't.
Are you wearing a wig now?
No, I
Your
didn't.
hair looks just fine to me. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
All right. Parties are excused. You may step out.
Just because my hair looks good now, it doesn't look like a porcupine. It doesn't mean that I did not endure a lot of headaches.
I think there are a couple of con artists that would try to get something for nothing.
I had to go to psychotherapy to just be able to endure his misconduct.
I think she's psycho already, and she should be put away.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Abernathy versus Millard. Step forward, please.
Flight attendant Ellen Abernathy is suing her former friend, Jill Millard, for her share of a European vacation. Jill says she paid her back with babysitting.
Miss Abernathy, I gather from your complaint that you and the defendant used to be very good friends.
Yes, Your Honor.
Your lawsuit claims that the defendant owes you money for her expenses for a European trip, for a piece of jewelry that she purchased there that she put on your credit card, and for a loan that you made her for an attorney while she was going through some matrimonial difficulties.
Yes, Your Honor, that's right.
So, you were going on this trip to celebrate a milestone birthday.
That's
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
You know, 50 is the new 30.
I like that. That's right.
I agree with you. That's the way it is.
Yes.
So you were going to Europe for your 50th birthday?
Yes, ma'am.
Who was going?
Myself and my husband, Bill, my son, Alex, who was 10 years old at the time, and his best friend, who was 10 years old at the time.
Where were you going?
We went to Zurich, took the train to Florence, went to Cortona, my favorite, Assisi. I saved and planned for 10 years for this trip. It was very, very important to me.
Sounds like a beautiful trip.
It was wonderful.
Under what circumstances did Miss Millard join you on the trip?
My middle son was not able to go on the trip with us, and so I had a ticket that I was going to turn back in, and Miss Millard said, I've never been to Italy and I've always wanted to go. Can I go along? She was my friend at the time, and I said, well, I have the ticket, but you know, with your finances, can you afford to pay for your part of the trip? So long story short, she said that when she got back from the trip and got on her feet job-wise, that she would pay me back.
Okay.
So that was fine.
Okay. The ticket that you had for your son that you were going to turn back in, was it a refundable ticket?
Well, it was refundable in that I used my frequent flyer miles, and I was just going to turn it back in to have the miles refunded to my account.
Okay. So the expenses that you're talking about are the hotel expenses and the meal expenses, not the plane ticket.
Exactly.
So you're really asking her for the money for her share of the expenses for the trip, not for the plane ticket.
That's right.
Okay. And that was, according to you, your agreement?
Yes.
Now, what happened when you got there with regard to this piece of jewelry that you're suing her for?
We were in Assisi, and they had a very specialty jewelry shop that had Etruscan-type jewelry, and Miss Millard came into the shop and was very taken with a couple of different pieces of jewelry. She did say, I really can't afford this, I really shouldn't get this, but I'll never see jewelry like this again. And I said, well, if you want the jewelry, you can pay me back for it. I understand. She was my friend. I wanted her to have something nice if she wanted it, but I could not afford to get it for her. And so she chose some jewelry, and I went ahead and put it on my credit card with the understanding that she would pay me back for it.
When you say you had the understanding, did you say that to her?
Yes, I did. My husband was in the shop at the time, and he heard that.
And how much was the jewelry?
It was $394.89.
Okay. What were her expenses?
Her expenses were $2,200. That is for 20 days of hotel.
So about $100 a day?
Yes, ma'am. That's very inexpensive to stay in Europe.
Okay. Plus the $394.
Yes, ma'am, but I had tried several times to call her, and she would either not return my call, or she would return my call and say, don't bother me about this right now, I don't have any money to pay you. So I called her and I said, I'm really sorry it's come to this, but I'm going to have to take you to small claims court. I don't want to do this. I've waited until September, and it had been since the end of June when we had returned. And so she sent me a money order for $100 and a card that was not very complimentary to me.
I see it.
Yes, ma'am. I had told her I felt that she had looked at me as an opportunity, not as a friend, and she took...
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, this card, this shows that she's sending you something. She didn't feel as if friendship was all about money. Clearly to you, she says it was all about money. Whatever. When did you advance her this money for an attorney?
It was in the early part of 2004.
Tell me the circumstances surrounding that.
She had phoned me very upset and said that her ex-fiancé was pressing her about personal issues and making all these charges against her, which I did not believe were true. And so she asked me if I would please help her. She didn't know who to call. She needed an attorney. And I said, I know someone who may be able to help you, but they'll need money. No attorney is going to take your case for nothing. And she said she didn't have any money. I said, well, I can help you. I'll loan the money to you, but you have to pay me back. I cannot afford just to pay your attorney's fees. She said, I'll do anything. I just need that attorney.
Okay. So I'm ready to hear you. Let's start with the attorney's fees because that came first.
Okay. I was in a very serious circumstance and I needed some help.
You needed money?
Yes. And she was very kind in helping me in that particular instance. And
so is what you're telling me, Miss Millard, that you expected her to pay this $2,500 and that you would not be paying her back?
Oh, no, no, no.
So you're now telling me that you agree that the $2,500 was a loan?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, you didn't say that in your answer. What you said was that the attorney was her idea and it was not a loan.
Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood.
Okay. Who did you expect to pay for that?
Well, before we went on the trip, we had an agreement. Her middle son could not go on the trip, and so I was kind of a fill-in. He had already been accounted for all the expenses, so the expenses mostly were already paid for. So
no, that's not true. There's food.
Right. So
that food wasn't paid for.
I agreed that I would be responsible, that I had brought cash and would exchange for euros once we got to...
How many dollars did you cash for euros and give to her?
I believe I cashed $200 in American dollars, and I gave them 60 euros.
Is what you're telling me, that you gave her 60 euros for 20 days that you were in Europe?
No, 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 not for 20 days, for the 3 days that I couldn't get to the bank. And the rest of
what happens after you went to the bank?
I was paying for my own meals.
How were you doing that?
With my own euros.
Now let's get to the jewelry. What happened with the jewelry?
We were in Assisi, and we went into this jewelry shop, and she said, oh, come and look at this beautiful jewelry. But I knew that I couldn't afford any of the jewelry. And so she said, well, how about if you pick out these pieces? And I brought the pieces. And then once we get home, we'll set up a way for you to pay me back in increments, because she knew when I got home that I would be starting a new job.
So it was a loan?
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, that's not what you say in your answer. You say that it was a gift. So now you're telling me, Miss Millard, that it was, in fact, a loan. Did you start paying her back?
Yes, the reference to the $100 money order was first part of the installment.
Well, you owe her $4,994 in addition to this $100. So what you're telling me is you acknowledge the debt.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, good. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $4,994.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I had a fabulous vacation, and I had hoped that everyone who was with me had a fabulous vacation.
Spending a long time with a friend in one place is taxing on a friendship.
But unfortunately, I guess not everyone did.
Sad that I really enjoyed our friendship, and I miss my friend.
Be careful who you vacation with.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Donor versus Spexer. Step forward, please.
Office manager Denise Donor is suing her former friend, bartender Shelley Fexer, for unpaid loans to pay her bills. Shelley is countersuing, claiming Denise stole her belongings.
Ms. Donor, the defendant was a former friend of yours. And
yes, she was.
You lived together for a while.
No, I lived with her mother. She did not live at the house.
You lived at her mother's house?
Correct.
She didn't live there ever?
No, she lived with her boyfriend.
According to your complaint, you made a loan to her.
Correct.
And she did not pay you back.
Correct.
Ms. Fexer, according to your answer, there was never a loan. The plaintiff paid some bills for you because she was a friend and you had fallen on hard times. And you claim that she took some of your property when she moved out of your mother's house.
Right.
And you are counterclaiming for several $1,000s. Ms. Donor says that the only thing she took was that piece of luggage, I assume. She's more than willing to give that back to you. When was this loan made, Ms. Donor?
It started in August of 2002 up until June of 2003.
Okay, let's start with the first loan. What amount and what for?
When I moved out there in the house with her mom, she asked me if I could...
Were you paying her mother rent?
Yes, I was. She asked me if I could help her out by paying some credit card bills because she didn't have any money. She wasn't working a steady job. She's a bartender, and it wasn't real steady for her.
How long do you know her?
A little over a year.
So you were good enough friends for her to come and ask you for money?
Yes.
And you felt close enough to her to give her the money?
Yes, I did.
How much did you give her in August of 2002?
August, it was only $200, ma'am. She flew to Chicago to help me pack my house out of Chicago.
So then why should she owe you $200?
She agreed to pay for her flight. I paid for everything else on the drive back, the gas, the food, the hotels.
Really? So let's start with that one.
I tried to pay for my own ticket to help her move, which is a little ridiculous.
Well, that sounds ridiculous to me.
It really is. And she obviously charged me for it later.
No, it's ridiculous to me. That doesn't sound normal. If somebody's coming to help you pack and help you drive back, they don't pay for their own ticket. What's next?
Payments I made to her credit card companies on her behalf at her request.
When?
In September, October, November, December, January, February, April, and then June.
And what was the total amount of those?
A little over $2,200 and something.
You made those payments directly to the credit card?
Directly to the credit card company.
Tell me why.
Because she agreed to pay me back once she got a regular job again.
Well, when did you go back to work?
I was out of work about 3 months.
When did she go back to work?
About 3 or 4 months later at the Home Depot.
So did she go back to work in December?
She was working in December, yes, Your Honor.
Okay, was she working in November?
No.
Okay, so she went back to work in December. When was the last time you paid her credit card?
In May of 2003.
How much did she pay you between December 2002 and May of 2003?
$170.
Well, why is it, madam, that you continue to make payments for her when she was working in Home Depot in December? Your agreement was that she would pay you back when she got a steady job. She got a steady job, and you continued to pay her credit cards. Why, Miss Donor?
Because she was not making enough money to afford her bills at the house as well as her own credit cards.
Well, but I don't understand. What kind of relationship did you enjoy with this defendant that would suggest to me that it's logical that you should pay her bills?
We were very close friends. She was like a sister to me. I would do practically anything for her that she asked me.
Well, then what happened, Miss Donor?
Well, we used to do a lot of drugs, and when I quit using, that's when our friendship basically dissolved, and I decided to move down a different road than she did. The rest of them, when we would be out, if she asked me, we'd be at the Target or something, she'd ask me for like some personal hygiene products or some
not interested
stuff
in that.
for
That's not what courts are set up to do. I'm not going through a laundry list of feminine products.
Right,
that you,
exactly.
That you bought for her at Target.
I understand.
You understand that, Miss Donor. You have receipts that you paid $2,200 and some odd in credit card bills.
Correct. I have the canceled checks.
For the defendant, and she doesn't deny that. Is that right?
That's true, yes.
Okay. And you paid her back, according to you, $500.
Yes. I was making payments to her right before she moved out of my mother's house. I had a good job, was making payments, because she said, don't worry about the payments. Whenever you get it, give it to me.
Excuse me, Your Honor,
okay,
she's lying.
Just shh. Now.
My apologies.
Now. Fine. So she said, whenever you have it, you'll give it to me.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, and you said?
And I did give it to her whenever I had it. I paid her a couple payments, and she said, do you want a receipt? And I said, no, you know, I didn't need a receipt. We were friends.
How much did you give her?
A total of $500.
Show me.
I can't. It's on. I marked it on my calendar, just that I paid her.
Let me see the calendar.
Okay.
And make sure it's a calendar that I'm not going to find suspect.
I gave her receipts for every time she gave me cash, Your Honor.
No, you did not.
Shh, don't fight with each other. I don't understand what figures are you telling me I should be looking for here?
Just June and July in the red. Says
June
paid.
and July is a couple of dollars. $40, $20,
Right.
$20, $50,
Right.
maybe $200.
Right, correct.
Where's the $500?
Well, that's like $200, and I gave her $2 more.
Well, show me where.
Well, I don't have the calendar. She has it.
She says you gave her $179, so you giving me a calendar, you say you gave her $200. Okay, that's $2,000 left. What happened to the rest of the money?
Well, I was paying her, and also when I first met her, she didn't want me to go back to work after the first bar I worked at closed. She said, just be my personal assistant and I'll pay you, you know. And we traded. I drove her around. I introduced everybody I know, you know, did things for her. Whatever she asked, I do. But I still was paying her back the money when I had it. I guess in June or July, we went to Austin, Texas together for my mother's birthday. And she charged me for the ticket, which she did not pay for. You know, I don't owe her all this money. And then that's when we probably had our falling out. She just acted weird. I think she wanted a different relationship than I was willing to give.
You owe her $2,000. Now let me hear about your counterclaim, madam.
When she moved out of my mom's house, my mother was asleep, and I wasn't there.
Your mother helped me move out.
I don't want you to speak. Okay. Until I look in your direction or ask you a question.
Okay.
And she had two friends come help her, and she didn't call.
Were you there?
No.
Well, then how are you telling me this?
Well, because the girl that helped her actually told me some things.
That's hearsay.
Right, right. Well, the things that were missing when she left the house that weren't hers.
Doesn't tell me anything.
That weren't hers. They weren't her
Doesn't tell
items.
me anything.
Right, she went through all my pictures, rearranged them all for me. These are all missing. Pictures when I didn't even know her.
You have to have proof, madam. Proof.
Right, and you know what? She's taken any proof that I have. She's
Well,
taken
then
the
I can't
pictures.
help you. I can't help you. Give her back her suitcase, please.
Okay.
Yeah, it's her suitcase.
Yes, it
Miss
is.
Donor said that that's your suitcase. Is this your suitcase?
Right, and
Ms.
I do have
Blexa?
receipts from that one. That's the only thing I have receipts from, because she took all the receipts when she took the items, if I had any. I know I can't prove it.
So if you can't prove it, then don't waste my time with it. There's your suitcase, a very nice piece of luggage. You owe the plaintiff $2,000. Pay it. Thank you very much.
Parties are excused. Step out.
I think that she's in love with me.
My boyfriend would be shocked to understand that I had, quote unquote, supposedly likings for her.
Just a few of her actions, you know. She was a little too friendly.
She doesn't know the truth if it would come up and bite her in the butt.
She'd do anything to make herself look good.
Crystal meth makes you do stupid things, and as you can see, the defendant is still using.
I think she got obsessive.
Shelley's a drug addict. She has been, and she always will be.
Provider clerk Lisa Gaviola is suing her former friend, drug and alcohol counselor Rhonda Turner, for damages to her rental car. Rhonda says the car was stolen, so she's not responsible.
Right. Yeah, this is case number 362 on the calendar, the matter of Gaviola versus Turner. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Have a seat.
Ms. Gaviola, the defendant was a friend of yours?
Yes.
And the two of you decided to go on a road trip for something, for business? Was it?
We were invited to a music festival in Hollywood.
And where were you coming from?
Sacramento.
You rented a car, and when you got to Hollywood, you loaned the defendant the car.
Correct.
It is your claim that she wrecked the car, and you are being held responsible by the rental car company.
Mm-hmm.
Ms. Turner says she did not wreck the car. She was using the car. The car was stolen, and somebody else wrecked it. So it's not her responsibility. That's your defense.
Yes.
You hesitated. That's what I read. Is that wrong?
No.
Okay. When were you going to the festival?
It was Friday, July 9th. I left from Sacramento around 7.
When did you rent the car?
5:30 that afternoon.
From whom?
Enterprise.
And when you arrived in Hollywood, what did you do with the car?
I lent the car to Rhonda.
Okay. You got the car on the 9th of July?
Yes, Your Honor.
What happened?
Actually, what happened was we drove from Sacramento
Look
to
at me, not the floor.
We drove from Sacramento to Los Angeles, and we
Who did the driving?
The plaintiff.
Go ahead.
And we arrived in Los Angeles, and we went to her boyfriend's house. And from that point, I had taken the car and went home. And we were to meet up the next day.
Went home to where?
To my mom's house, actually, in Los Angeles.
Don't make things up as you're going along, because I'm going to come back to everything that you tell me.
Okay.
And, you know, the only reason you have to have a good memory is if you tell lies. If you tell the truth, you don't need a really good memory, because you can tell the same story over and over again, and it's the truth. Do you understand, Ms. Turner?
Yes, I do.
All right. So you dropped her off, you took the car, you went to your mother's house. Is that the last time you saw the car?
No.
When did you use the car again?
The next day when it was time to go to the so-called festival.
Did you go to the festival together?
No, we met there.
And you were driving the car?
Yes.
When you left, did you drive by yourself?
Yes.
Where did you go?
To a family barbecue.
Where?
in Inglewood, California.
And did you drive back to your mother's house?
No, not at that point.
When did you drive back?
I didn't drive back to my mom's house from that point. We were at the barbecue, and that's where the car was stolen from.
When did you find out the car was stolen?
Sometime during the day when I got ready to go, went outside and the car was not there.
What time?
Between 7 and 8.
May I see the police report, please, where you called the police and told them that the car was stolen?
I didn't make a police report.
Why not?
Well, I figured the car wasn't in my name, and I figured I needed to get in touch with the plaintiff so the plaintiff could make the appropriate report on the car.
When did you call her?
I called her that same night.
What time?
Somewhere between 8 and 9.
Is that right?
We received a voicemail message on Jimmy's phone around maybe 10.
Who got the message?
He originally received the message.
Jimmy, what's your last name?
Placencia.
You received the message. What did the message say?
The first message I received from Rhonda was that she left a message saying she had wrecked the car. The car was in an accident.
That's not true.
Shh. That's the first message.
Correct.
And the second message?
We had communicated several times during that evening. I called her back and she left a voicemail. And
did you speak to her when you called back?
Yes, I did.
What did you say to her and what did she say to you?
I asked her about the vehicle and what had happened, and she had told me that she had gotten into a car accident, and I asked her about the accident. She said that she had hit somebody, and I asked her, did she exchange information, and there was no information exchanged.
And then the story changed?
And then the story had changed, and then she had tried to talk me or talk us into reporting the car that Lisa was originally the driver. She did not want to take responsibility for the accident. And when I started explaining to her that that would not be appropriate, then her story changed. She didn't want to talk, and we hung up, and then we tried to reach her again, and were not able to get in touch with her.
That isn't true. I called them several times during the night. They did not return my phone calls.
Ms. Turner?
Yes.
I read your answer very carefully, and you say that the car was stolen. My friends and family searched the neighborhood for the car, and finally a friend called and said that they had found the car, but it was wrecked. Where's the friend?
They're not here.
What's the friend's name?
Adrian.
So Adrian found the car wrecked, came back and told you that. Is that what you're telling me?
Adrian didn't find the car herself. Her boyfriend found the car.
Yes.
I got the call initially from her stating what had happened. That was the next day.
So it's different from what you wrote in your answer?
No. My answer says that we looked for the car after we found out the car was stolen.
No, finally a friend called and said they had found the car and it was wrecked.
That was the next day.
All right. How much is Enterprise charging you for the car?
$3,780.96.
You have a contract with Enterprise?
Yes.
Can I see it, please? Okay. Now, you went into a contract with these people in which you guaranteed to them that there would be no other driver driving this car.
Yes.
You had no right to give her the car to drive.
Yes.
You understand that?
Yes, I do.
Because if you had put down her name, which you could do, and her driver's license, they would have said, now you're covered if you accepted insurance. Do you understand?
Yes.
That's why you're being charged this $3,780.
Yes.
So I have to find some sort of a reasonable balance between your wrongdoing and her wrongdoing, because I find, madam, that your story is a crock of baloney. If the car wasn't cared for properly while it was in your possession, you have to accept responsibility for that. You have to accept responsibility. You're not supposed to slough off responsibility. Neither are you. You did the wrong thing. But for the fact that you did the wrong thing, she wouldn't have been in a position to wreck your car that you are now being held responsible for. Do you have a car at home?
Do I have a car? Yes.
Do you have insurance?
Yes.
Well, if you had insurance, the insurance would cover this if you were permitted to drive the car. Do you know that?
Yes. When she rented the car, she called me and said, do I need to get insurance on the car? And I said, yes, it would be the appropriate thing to do.
Your Honor, she had assured me at the time when I had given her keys that she would be extremely careful and that she would be responsible for any damages to the car because she had full coverage insurance.
I don't believe she said that to you. I don't believe she said that to you at all, in any event. I think you're each responsible for half of the damage to this car and half of what you're being charged for. 50%. 50% for doing the wrong thing, 50% for having an accident and not coming clean. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of half, $1,890. That's all. The rest you're responsible for.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm glad that both of us were able to take responsibility of the car.
I'm not going to say that I was liable for the car because I didn't wreck the car.
I'm really just glad that it's over.
I think it was a fair decision.
It's been very challenging.
We got insurance for the car. Had she told the story the way it should have went, she would have been covered.
Really don't want to speak anymore.
If you're going to be honest all the way.
We're no longer friends.
Don't tell half truth.
I think it's about being selective of the people that are in your life.
25-year-old home appraiser Amanda Knockhart is suing her ex-boyfriend, 27-year-old basketball coach Ethan Jordan, for a loan, a trip to Las Vegas, and for kicking her in the ribs.
Yeah, this is case number 243 on the calendar in the matter of Knockhart versus Jordan. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Ms. Knockhart, Mr. Jordan is your former roommate, and it is your claim in this lawsuit that he owes you for a whole bunch of stuff.
Correct.
Mr. Jordan says he owes you for absolutely nothing, and you got to get on with your life. Get over it and get on with your life. When was he your roommate?
He moved in August of 2003 through June of 2004.
And how long had you known him before he became your roommate?
Probably about a month.
Was your relationship with him solely that of landlord and tenant?
No.
So you had a social relationship with him as well?
No.
What?
A love relationship?
I said social.
Social?
Yes.
Sure.
Well, is that a question?
No.
That's a statement. Okay. So you had a social relationship with him as well. Is that right, Mr. Jordan?
Not entirely, Your Honor. I sometimes slept on the couch, but for the most part, we did share a bedroom.
Okay, so you had a social relationship, but you paid rent?
No, ma'am.
You did not pay rent?
I moved in with the understanding that I would not pay rent or find any costs in her bills.
Oh, that's interesting. So you weren't a tenant because the word tenant implies that you pay rent?
Yes, ma'am.
So
correct.
You just lived together. I mean, I was confused about the statements. You lived together, and he did not pay rent.
He did not pay rent, but the agreement was that he was supposed to maintain the automobile and the maintenance of that. And
whose automobile?
Mine.
Supposed to maintain a car.
Right.
Is that your agreement?
That agreement wasn't up until, let's say, January.
So from August of 2003 until January of 2004, Mr. Jordan, what you're telling me is you were just sponging.
No, Your Honor. It was all her idea.
Oh, no, I didn't know her idea. I didn't ask whose idea it was. I said, just listen to my question, Mr. Jordan. According to you, from August 2003 till January 2004, you paid no rent, you paid no bills, you paid no car insurance, you didn't have any responsibility with regard to the car. So far, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
That makes you a sponge.
Okay.
Right?
I would
That means
disagree.
that as far as I'm concerned, there must be something really hidden about you that I don't see. What? Whatever. Okay. Now, he's a sponge.
Yes.
That makes you pretty dumb. Right?
No.
Sure it does. You know somebody a month, you invite them to come into your home, they pay you nothing. Must do something. Do you have a big home?
No, he was supposed to get a check that was mailed to his ex-girlfriend's house. That's why I never saw the money.
Look, you say, I met him, he moved in.
Correct.
And you agreed that he could use my car to get to and from work if he paid the insurance and the maintenance. That's what you say.
That's right.
So evidently he worked, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Usually when you have a job, you make what?
Yeah, but he got fired.
Money. And when you have a job and you make money, you take care of your expenses, like rent and food and electric and gas, unless, you know, you're a sponge. So according to you, he did not pay for the insurance on the car.
No.
So why don't you throw him out?
Well, he was supposed to be getting a big check, like I said, for $2,000, and the check was mailed somewhere else instead of our residence, and he apparently spent the money.
And when did he get the check?
February.
Well, what happened in February when you knew he got the check and he spent the money on something else? Did you throw him out?
No, he had another job at that time finally and was supposed to get the paychecks. Then he got arrested and his lawyer that he owed money to was suing him. I couldn't get any of it at that point.
At that point, what you're supposed to say is, I am a reasonably intelligent person.
Right.
I'm living with somebody that's taking advantage of me. Get out.
Right.
Unless you're in love and everything is going to work out okay and you're really not interested in the money, you're really interested in the relationship, and the only reason you come to a point where you're interested in the money is because you're not together anymore.
No, he did start staying at a friend of his house more often.
When?
That was in May, because...
I'm talking about February, March, April.
Okay.
Nothing. Goodbye. All right. What's next? What else does he owe you money for?
A vacation that we took together and for medical bills.
All right. So let's go to the vacation. When was the vacation?
February.
Where did you go?
Las Vegas.
For how long?
February 22nd to the 29th.
You wait to drink later. And was he working at the time?
He was going to Las Vegas to work.
Was he working at the time?
Nowhere else, no.
And what was your arrangement?
He was working the convention there, the magic show, and when he returned...
What do you do for a living?
Your Honor, I have always, since she's known me, maintained an occupation as a basketball coach at the YMCA. I still work there today.
What were you doing in Las Vegas?
Oh, I modeled for a clothing company.
So you were modeling?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you get paid?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. How much did you get paid? Do you remember?
Not entirely, not exactly. I think it was like $1,500, some give or take.
And who paid for all the expenses to Vegas?
To Vegas, she did.
Well, why didn't you compensate her for that?
When I got the news that I was going to Vegas, I had all my... They flew me out. They flew me out. They would room me, pay for airfare. I had a place to go. She decided that she wanted to go to Vegas. We sat down. We planned out the whole trip. Okay. When we got to Vegas, her and I would disagree, as usual. And she went one way and I went another. I stayed with a friend. That's it.
How many days were you there?
In the hotel room, I think I stayed 1 day.
Okay. How many days?
1.
Okay. So you put him out after 1 day?
No. He only stayed 1 night away from me. He tried leaving me in the middle of Las Vegas by myself. Yeah. So I tried catching a flight home, which would have costed me a lot more money than...
How did you get to Vegas? Did you fly?
Yeah.
You flew. Well, his ticket was paid for.
No, it wasn't. I have the credit card receipts right here.
Oh, well, she says it wasn't paid for. Did
Your
you
Honor,
Were you reimbursed by the company for your airfare there?
Normally they would have, but I opted to go with her since she wanted to go with me.
Yeah, right.
Ooh, he slipped. All right, how much was his plane ticket?
$345 for
his
the
plane
airfare.
ticket. Okay. And how much was the hotel room?
$214.76.
For both of you?
No, I divided all the costs by 2.
So it's clear to me that you were compensated, Mr. Jordan, for that. If you weren't, you were paid $1,500, probably plus expenses. You got the check. I assume you got the check to cover your expenses as $559. So far, you're off $559 for this trip to Las Vegas. What else does he owe you for? Don't say anything else. I'm giving you so far every benefit of the doubt, more benefit of the doubt than I usually would give to somebody who acts so dumb. What else does he owe you for?
The rental car.
Listen to me. Leave Las Vegas. Get on to something else.
Doctor bill.
Now, tell me about the doctor bill.
Ethan abused me, and I had to go to the doctor's.
When?
5/8.
Tell me what happened on May 8th.
He kicked me in the ribs, broke 2 of my toes, threw me...
Tell me about the argument.
I don't know what actually the argument was about.
And how did the verbal argument escalate into a physical argument?
He came dashing from the living room, charging at me.
And?
Threw me against the kitchen cabinets, picked me up, threw me on the floor, spit on my face, and kicked me in the ribs.
Did you call the police?
I called my friend to come get me.
Did you call the police?
Not at that point.
When, after May 8th, did you call the police and report it?
I had a personal protection order put out on him on July 22nd. I didn't call the police on that incident.
Why not?
I don't have an answer for that. I'm sorry.
Mr. Jordan, you want to tell me what happened on May 8th?
Your Honor, I do remember the fight that we got into. I don't remember why I attacked her. But I do know that that was not the only incident that became physical between either one of us.
Did you suffer any injuries on May 8th, Mr. Jordan?
Your Honor, I've got scratches all over me, but I didn't go to report him. I didn't go to the hospital or anything like that.
I see the doctor's report. Did you take her to the hospital, doctor, or whatever?
I don't remember her going to the hospital.
No, I took myself there, Your Honor.
Okay. Miss Knockhart, after May 8th, you went back to live with him.
He started staying... No.
Are you telling me that between May 8th and June, which is when you said you separated, because you said you separated in June...
Correct.
You didn't live together at all?
I stayed at my mom's a lot more because...
I'm not asking you a lot more. I'm asking you at all, Miss Knockhart.
Not that day or not the next day.
What about the third day?
Yes.
And when you went back the third day, did you share a room together?
No.
Not ever between May 8th and June when he...
Yes. Once or twice.
Miss Knockhart,
yes.
I have no idea what this bill is for. This says that the closing date of the statement is May 8th. The doctor says that he saw you on April 23rd with regard to an assault. I would have assumed that if somebody broke your toes during the course of an assault, you would remember the month and date that it took place.
Yeah.
Well, I would assume that. Listen, are you her mother?
Yes, I am.
She lives by herself?
Yes.
How old is she?
25.
She's probably not old enough to live by herself.
No, she's more than capable. Her judgment in men aren't that good.
Her judgment isn't that good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today, Linda Knockhart says her ex-boyfriend Ethan Jordan beat her up and broke her ribs. She's also suing for a loan and a trip to Las Vegas.
Where are you living now, Mr. Jordan?
I live with my brother.
You pay him rent?
No.
Problem is not an answer.
No, ma'am, I don't.
Why not?
Because he's my brother. He helped me out of this relationship.
Does your brother work?
He's a doctor.
And you just told me a moment ago that you've been working continuously.
Yes, ma'am. I have 2 jobs myself.
What is it with you that you think that other people are supposed to take care of you?
I don't believe that.
I'm not talking about her. Let's forget her for a second.
Okay.
How old are you?
27.
Grow up. Responsibility. You're supposed to pay your way. You're not supposed to spend all the money that you make on clothes. Sir, do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yes, ma'am. I understand.
Listen, your mother says that you have lousy judgment in men. You better start getting better judgment in men. So far, the only thing he owes you is $559 for the trip to Vegas. That's his expenses because I think he was reimbursed those expenses and you expected them. I can't figure out whether you were assaulted or when you were assaulted or what it was all about because you brought no proof of that. So, exercise better judgment in the future. That's my decision. Judgment for the plaintiff, $559. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
For her to let me live that long with her, drive her car, you know what I'm saying? She says I beat her up and she didn't make any kind of police report. It speaks for itself.
I think he just used me and he wanted somewhere to stay for free and now he's found somewhere else to freeload.
The violent, tumultuous relationship. I didn't talk about how fish hook I was beat with or, you know what I'm saying, spoons and whatever that was thrown at me. So I'm just happy that's all done over.
Of course he's got to make me look bad because look at how he appeared in the courtroom, so.
I wish her the best. I have no hard feelings for her, man. I hope she gets, you know, whatever's coming to her.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Collingwood versus Berkelin, step forward, please.
Jeff and Tamara Collingwood are suing Tamara's brother, sales consultant Jim Berkland, for the unpaid balance and damages on a 1999 Mazda Protege.
Miss Collingwood, this is your brother.
Yes, correct.
From what I gather, about 4.5 years ago, you had a car that you were leasing.
Correct.
And your brother was just getting married, and you made an arrangement with him to take over the payments on the car. And at the end of the lease, the arrangement was that he was going to buy the car.
Correct.
Is that right, sir?
Correct.
And he did, for 4.5 years, pay for the monthly payments on the lease, and then decided he didn't want to purchase the car. So you want him to pay the turn-in fee that you had to pay for the car, and in addition, the car was damaged while it was in his care over the 4.5 years, and you had to pay several $1,000s to have the car fixed before you could turn it in. So you want the out-of-pocket expenses that you incurred as a result of his use of the car, right?
Correct.
So?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Collingwood claimed Tamara's brother, Jim Berkland, owes for breaking a lease on a Mazda Protege. The couple also claims Jim severely damaged the vehicle.
Now, you acknowledge that the car was damaged while it was in your possession.
Yes, ma'am.
And it wasn't just recent. It happened several times while the car was in your possession.
Yes, ma'am.
Why didn't you purchase the car as you agreed to 4.5 years ago?
The agreement was $5,000 at the end of the lease. They said they might be able to drop it down a sum. When my bank told me it was $6,400, I told them I'm not going to pay that much for the car for the last 4.5 years. Basically, I paid $18,000 out of my pocket already on the vehicle. I said I was not going to pay the $6,400. You can keep the car. Then they informed me if I turn the car in, it will have to be a $300 turn-in fee, which I was not aware of. Plus, I had to fix all these things that was wrong with the car. That was a lot of it wear and tear, windshield cracks, whatever, chips from rocks. I told them they can have it. I went over and parked it in the parking lot, told them where the keys were, take it, get out of my face. I wasn't going to purchase the car at that price that we did not agree upon.
Is that right?
Incorrect. I told him it'd be around $5,700, and there's tax on top of that, too.
Okay. So what you really did was you stiffed your sister.
No, ma'am. They stiffed me.
No, they did not. Did you go out and buy another car?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
What year car did you buy?
A 2000.
And what year car was this?
A 99.
Did the car that you bought have the same kind of damage that is the car that you turned in?
Yeah, probably.
What do you mean, yeah, probably? Don't be a smart aleck with me.
It was pre-owned.
Oh. Listen, it's not my fault that you have an obnoxious brother.
I know.
But if you had an obnoxious brother, I would not have made a business arrangement with him. Because anybody that's not only obnoxious but not smart because he thinks that he can get away in front of me with being obnoxious and stupid.
His whole life that way.
Well, but you entered into a business relationship with him.
Looks I love him.
I mean, the guy's an idiot.
Yeah.
Listen.
Got a lesson learned.
How old are you?
31.
Are you a married person?
Currently going through divorce.
Sounds like a smart girl to me. You have children?
Yes, ma'am.
How many?
1.
How old?
4.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a sales consultant.
Are you on salary or commission?
Commission.
At least people are smart enough not to pay you a salary. Now, you made a business arrangement with your sister. You made an arrangement with her that she would turn over her car to you, a car that she had a lease on, because clearly the reason you did that was because you lacked sufficient credit to do the deal yourself at that point. I assume that that's true because if you had sufficient credit, you would have gotten your own lease, you would have made whatever kind of an arrangement you wanted, but you thought that this was a good deal. So it is clear to me that you would not have entered into this arrangement with your sister if you didn't feel as if it was to your advantage.
You know,
so
ma'am,
I'm speaking. So what you did was you entered into an agreement with her, and at the end of the lease, who are you?
I'm Nick. I'm here to support my friend.
Nick, I just want you to sit there and be quiet and don't smile. Just sit there and be quiet. At the end of the 4.5 years, you realize, why am I going to pay for this old piece of junk that I haven't taken care of over the 4.5 years? I can probably get myself a car much cheaper, and who cares if I screw my sister? Can I please see what it cost you to fix the damage on the car
and
that
also,
he did?
Can I say something, ma'am?
This one. Also, he was aware of the damages that he did to the car because every time he did something, he would tell us.
He explained to us how he did it.
Yeah, he told me how he did it. He hit a curb, he hit a tree, whatever. He hit things. I don't want to see that. All I want to see are the bills.
Sorry.
Okay.
Can I see the payout, please?
We haven't received a bill, but it has not been paid for yet.
Well, let me see the letter from them indicating that they are going to come after you for...
We have not received it at this date. We have not received anything from them, and I have not called them to ask for it.
Oh, listen to me very carefully, Miss Collingwood. I will enter a provisional judgment in your favor pending receipt of the bill, and the check will be made out to the lender, not to you, if they come after you for the bill. But certainly, I'm not going to direct that he pay you if there's a possibility that you're not going to have to pay them. Yes, now you can speak.
Ma'am, she told me $5,000. She didn't tell me $5,700. They said $5,000. I might be able to drop it to you less. Sure, there's damage on the car.
Just a second. Who is they said? Listen to me. Who is they that said I may be able to drop it to you less?
My brother-in-law, Mr. Collingwood here.
He's not making any money from this. He just wants you to pay off the car. You go into a lease arrangement, you find out exactly what the monthly payments are, what the buyout is. You find out.
I asked 4 times
You don't ask
Oh, no,
him.
over 4 years, I asked them for a lease agreement. They would not furnish it to me. I had no idea what I was getting myself into.
That is not true. I don't
You didn't give me a lease agreement.
Shh. Listen to me. Mr.
Did you
Birkeland.
furnish me a lease agreement?
No,
What don't you understand?
Constantly.
What don't you understand? Don't speak to him. You're in a courtroom. You're not at a tea dance. You're in a courtroom. You don't speak to him. When you enter into a lease, what you do is...
I didn't enter into a lease, ma'am.
Oh, yes, you did. Oh, yes, you did.
I didn't sign nothing.
Please.
I paid their car payments and helped their credit out for the last 4.5 years.
Right, I have great credit.
Yeah, thanks to me.
What's your wife's name?
She asked me not to mention on air, ma'am.
Good.
She's just wife.
Mrs. Birkeland.
Yes, ma'am.
Smart lady. She has a chance of recovering a life. Judgment for the plaintiff provisionally in the amount of $2,100 as soon as I get the bill. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Excuse you may step out.
It was great. She listened and understood our circumstances.
Hopefully my sister and I can mend after all this.
I'm sure it's mendable.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Lewis versus Robbins. Step forward, please.
Homemaker Debbie Lewis is suing her ex-husband, assembly line worker James Robbins, for half the cost of their daughter's wedding. Debbie says he reneged on his promise to pay.
Ms. Lewis, the defendant is your former husband, and according to the complaint that I read, he agreed to pay for half of your daughter's wedding. Which one of these two lovelies is getting married? What's your name?
Angie.
How old are you, Angie?
23.
When are you getting married?
I already got married. I got married in September.
And he agreed to pay for half the wedding, and it was a very reasonably priced wedding. Half the cost of the wedding was $865. And he didn't pay.
No.
And you want him to pay.
Yes.
And he did go to the wedding.
Yes. He walked her down the aisle, did everything the father does.
Okay.
Except for pay.
Okay. Now, Mr. Robbins does not deny the fact that he agreed to pay for half the wedding. Correct, sir?
Correct.
And he does not deny the fact that he went to the wedding. Correct?
Correct.
And who else went with you to the wedding?
My wife, Robin.
So, Mr. Robbins, the ball is in your court, sir. Why didn't you pay for half your daughter's wedding as you promised?
Well, because ever since I've left her in 90, she's been putting her hands in my pockets trying to get money out of me for everything. And the divorce decree that we have does say that she gets to use the kids for taxes reasons. But the state of Utah took custody from her because of verbal and physical abuse. And I got a paper here that says that the divorce decree follows the child. And it cost me $1,600 because she did claim my daughter on taxes where I have the right to. And I also have a letter from her that's showing that the custodial parent gets to claim them on taxes. And if that's the case, I didn't get to claim them for 13 years that we've been divorced.
If you believe that in a certain year, I assume last year, that you had the right to claim a child as a deduction, she claims the child. You claim the child, and the IRS is going to come and look at both of your tax returns and say they will make a decision as to who is going to claim the child as a deduction. The other one will have a penalty. But you don't do a set-off. You promise to pay for half the wedding. Why didn't you pay her between September and April?
I told her that I would pay her when I could, which was...
No, that's not right. What do you mean when you could? How many children do you have?
Well, I have 4 with my wife now.
We have 3 children.
Just a second. You have 4 children now. And how many children do you have that got married last year?
Just 1.
And you said you would pay for half the wedding.
Yes, I did.
Pay for it. It's the right thing to do. And stop making excuses and stop telling me what happened in 1990. That she's had her hand in your pocket. You
Well, it just all added up. I mean, everything's added up.
Mr. Robbins, you have altogether 7 children?
Well, I've got 4 stepchildren, 3.
Then I'm not talking about your stepchildren. They are not your responsibility.
Oh, I married them, so I feel they are.
Well, I'm telling you, by law, they are not your responsibility unless your family is on welfare, are they?
No.
Well, if your family's not on welfare, then those children are not your financial responsibility. They are the financial responsibility of their mother and their father, not you. You have primary responsibility for only 3 biological children. 3. And your first biological child was getting married. She was having a very small wedding. $865 represents your half. And if you didn't have the money to pay the $865, you should have gotten another job. If I make myself clear, sir?
Yes.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $865. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. They step out.
Michael Attar is suing his former clients, Mary and Michael Rhodes, for unpaid demolition work.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2115, Attar versus Rhodes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Attar, you were hired to do some, according to you, demolition work and other work at a property owned by Mr. and Mrs. Rhodes. You gave them an estimate for that work. I think the estimate was $11,500. Is that correct?
Correct.
And it was outlined what work you were supposed to do. You started that work, and according to you, at some point there was disagreement with either or both of the Rhodeses, and they stopped payment on a check that they gave you. Correct. And the check that they gave you was for $4,200, and then you stopped work for them.
Yes, ma'am, we're finished.
So you're suing them for the canceled check and for other unpaid work that you did that you didn't get paid for.
Correct.
Mr. and Mrs. Rhodes say that they were not satisfied with the quality of your work. It cost them $9,000 to both replace things that were stolen from their property by either you or members of your team, something which I don't think that you question that somebody from your team, not you, somebody from your team may have taken metal property of theirs that they didn't own. So let's go back. Mr. and Mrs. Rhodes, is this a new property to you, or is this a property that you owned for a while?
It's a new property to us.
That's what I thought. Yeah. So is it a private house?
Yes, and we were remodeling it.
Okay, when did you purchase it?
We purchased in January of 2021.
Is it a single-family residence?
Yes.
How much did you pay for it?
$769,000.
Describe the property to me.
It's in northern Altaloma or Rancho Cucamonga. It's an acre property, has 2 levels on it, and a single-family ranch-style home on it right now. And what we asked him to do was demolition the lower half.
Do you have a photograph?
I do.
I'd like to look at a photograph of what you wanted him to do.
That's what the lower half looked like before.
So this whole portion you wanted him
correct
to demolish and remove the debris.
And grade flat.
Is that correct, sir?
I can't see from here, ma'am.
Okay. We're going to show it to you. To demolish it, flatten it, fill it in.
Remove all the debris. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. And did you have a written contract?
We did not.
Well, that's always a mistake.
Always.
How did you find him?
I believe I got his business card. It was on my personal car, I think at Home Depot. We had bought this house, and we tried to find somebody to do the work, but...
Mr. Rhodes, let me tell you that the best way to find somebody is not somebody who leaves a card on your car at Home Depot or any place else.
Yeah. It was a difficult time to find contractors with COVID and everything at that time.
And at the time, I'm also going to add, because I read in the paper somewhere at the time, he didn't have a license.
He did not.
And you knew he didn't have a license.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I told him, Your Honor. I do not
Just a second. They didn't say, no, we didn't know. They said we knew. So you got somebody who had no license to do what you wanted him to do, and you got his number from a card that he left on your windshield. Did you ask for references? That's either a yes or a no.
No, and I'm not really sure actually 100% on where I found that card. I think
it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
I mean,
but he did tell us he was in the process of getting his license. That it was coming.
Yeah. I know.
What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. You're two intelligent people. Okay. So you hired an unlicensed contractor to do work on your house and agreed to pay him $11,500. Now, Mr. Attar, the $11,000 included labor and materials. Is that correct?
There was no material. It was labor and bins.
Well, that's material, labor and bins to remove all the equipment that you needed to complete the job.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that correct?
Of before, too. Of what I was supposed to do, and I took a picture.
Well, no, I have that.
You have the wrong picture, Your Honor.
Okay, I'd like to see the picture that he has.
I was supposed to do from the post all the way to the other post, remove everything, and the pool and the deck.
Mr. Attar, the $11,500 was an all-inclusive figure.
Yes, Your Honor.
One of the things that became an issue is a bobcat.
Correct.
From what I'm piecing together, you hired somebody in a bobcat to do a bobcat. That's a big piece of equipment that knocks down something.
I rented a bobcat.
And somebody who operated it.
My worker.
You didn't know how to operate the bobcat.
I know how to operate bobcat, but I was controlling the demolition site, ma'am. I was like many things were going at the same time. I had to control everything.
Mr. Attar, something happened with the bobcat, the original one that you got. What happened with it?
It broke down on us.
No, it didn't break down on them. It broke down on you.
On us.
It broke down on you.
Yes.
So what did you do?
I took it back, and next day supposed to deliver me another one, but they sent me a drunk driver and another broken down bobcat. I returned it. At that moment, I asked Mrs. Rhodes, can you please go down Home Depot, which is like a mile away, so we don't stop wasting time, rent a bobcat.
Just a second. Why should she rent a bobcat, sir? Your $11,500 included the bobcat.
But I paid for it.
No. If you're going to pay for it, that's one thing. Then what are you sending her for? If your $11,500 figure included all materials, then she doesn't have to rent a bobcat. If you rented one that didn't work, rent one that works. How much of a down payment did they give you?
Presume was $4,000.
When did you start the job?
I started the job on 15th of January.
When did you leave the job?
I was asked to leave on the 2nd of February.
On February 2nd?
Yes, ma'am. Not to go back, I'll call the cops on you.
Between January 15th and February 2nd, other than the $4,000, did they give you any other money?
Yes, Your Honor, they did.
How much money did they give you?
They gave me up to $7,000.
So they gave you an additional $3,000?
Yes, and $1,000 check.
Your Honor, that was within the first week we gave him.
It doesn't matter to me. My question was between January 15th and February 2nd, they gave you $7,000.
Correct.
Explain the other $4,200, which is the check that they stopped payment on.
Okay. I'll happily explain to you. The bobcat she rented for me on her behalf, it cost $329 to rent per day. And I rented for 1 day only, but they charged me $800.
No, that's not correct.
Just a second. I didn't ask you anything.
Okay.
Do you have a photograph of what the property looked like when you left?
Yes, ma'am. The last picture I took before I was kicked out of the property.
You're talking, I'm not listening to you.
Michael Attar claims his former clients, Mary and Michael Rhodes, owe for unpaid demolition work. Mary and Michael are countersuing for lost wages, equipment rental, and missing property.
Now, they paid you $7,000.
Correct.
They wrote you another check.
The final check was supposed to be $5,000, but they only gave me $4,200 because they mined $800 for the bobcat rental.
Just a second. First of all, the total bill wasn't 7 and 5. 7 and 5, even my rudimentary math, is $12,000. That would be $500 more than your agreed contract, which was for $11,500.
They gave me $6,500 because they gave me small checks. They gave me the first initial
Just
check,
a second.
They gave me smaller ones.
Sir, you're the businessman, whether you have a license or not. I asked you before how much money did they give you between January 15th and February 2nd, and you said $7,000.
I didn't write it down, Your Honor.
Well, you're here asking for money, and you have to write it down. You have to have some
work I've done performed already. And
no, sir.
And I just did the job, Your Honor. I did 7, 8 other side jobs for them.
I don't care whether you did 7 or 8 side jobs. Your original agreement with them was for $11,500, including all material. Now, what you said to me was that they gave you $7,000, and you said they're supposed to give me another $5,000. Well, another $5,000 is more than your quote.
Ma'am, the balance was $5,000.
How?
The initial check, then they gave me $1,000.
How much money did you give them all together that he cashed?
$7,000.
then they owed you $4,500 pursuant to your agreement.
We agreed to $11,000, not $11,500.
$11,500, Your Honor.
Anybody have any proof of what the agreed amount was?
We had a verbal contract with me, Mr. Rhodes.
Fine. I will indicate that it's $11,500. If they gave you $7,000, they don't owe you $5,000. They owed you the difference between $11,500 and the $7,000 that they gave you. Now, one of the things that you disputed, Mr. Attar, was this Bobcat. Who paid for the Bobcat? Show me.
They minus it from the final price.
Just a second. Was that an argument?
The argument about is, Your Honor, is they rented for 1 day, but they charged me 2 days, $800. There's no Bobcat rental for $800 for 2 days. I got.
Do you have the bill for the Bobcat?
I do, yes. And it was for 2 days.
Go over a certain time.
Because it was returned late. So they charged a second day. But in his text messages, he did request it for 2 days.
Is that the total price?
Yes, and I did not subtract it from his payment.
Total contract was $652.74?
Yes.
Do you have a photograph of what the property looked like when you left?
Yes, ma'am. The last picture I took before I was kicked out of the property.
You're talking, I'm not listening to you. Just show me a picture.
Yes, ma'am. This is not a picture.
Mr. Attar, you're the businessman.
Yes, ma'am.
This is your company.
Yes, ma'am.
Company requires, A, a license before you operate, which you didn't have.
If you do.
B, it requires a written contract. You're the businessman. They're people who bought a house who got your number off a windshield someplace. You're the businessman, and you want the parameters. You want them fixed. So I don't know if it's $11,000 or $11,500. Do you understand?
Very much, Your Honor.
Right. Well, that's your mistake. You look as if you've probably been in business for a long time.
14 years.
And is what you're telling me you don't have written contracts?
All my contracts are verbal.
Then how many times have you been in court, sir?
Never.
Never.
I never had a stop payment check. Never pays me on time, Your Honor.
It's a problem. Sir, when you finished, the debris wasn't all removed.
That wood, they kept telling me, don't touch it. Their neighbor, cousin, whoever's going to come pick it up. That was just cut court wood.
No. There's brick. There's wood, there's cement.
We cleaned all that. I personally cleaned
Just
all that.
a second. What I asked you, Mr. Attar, was show me a picture of the property when you left. This is the picture that you showed me.
That was the last, before I had more work, I came in and did more. I wasn't taking pictures. I wasn't expecting somebody to stop payment on a check, Your Honor. I was not expecting that.
What it looked like when he left.
What about after?
Well, what are you showing me here? This brick that's here?
They piled it there and then left it there.
Well, that's probably a good one.
No, it was supposed to be removed.
So this is the back.
That's the picture of the sagging patio because he removed part of the supports that were holding up the patio that he wasn't supposed to. So it's now sagging.
Now, this is the picture that you gave me when you told me this is what you wanted, leveled, cleared, and made flat.
Right.
Now, I want to see your picture of what this looked like when he left.
You have it. It's in some of those photos.
Flat leveled.
You're talking about this?
Yeah.
That's part of it. The close-ups, that's part of it.
Well, it looks like most of the stuff is done. It looked like a lot of cleanup left.
No, ma'am. We've done all the cleanup.
Well, I haven't seen that, sir. Then what you're supposed to do is take a photograph.
It was also buried underneath. These are the photos of when we did it ourselves and really leveled it out. And as we were doing that, we found so much buried underneath that should have been removed, but his Bobcat person buried it all.
Your Honor.
Buried
all the debris, all the concrete brick.
Okay, let me see the bill from the...
No, we did it ourselves. We rented equipment and did it ourselves on his vacation.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Okay, $4,500 is so far what's owed on this contract. Now, your counterclaim is money owed for lost work, equipment rentals, labor and missing damages to property. What money owed for lost work?
During the second week that he was working, he called and said that his crew had left. This was the second day of supposed to be use of the Bobcat that I rented.
Okay, if you interrupt me again, I'm just dismissing your case. Do you understand?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good.
So
just explain lost work. Who's lost work?
His.
Oh, forget it.
Well, he called and said his crew left.
Forget it.
He can't finish the job.
You weren't living there.
Not yet, no.
You weren't living there. Okay. He wants to go, go. I'm not interested in his lost wages for taking care of his house. So far, you owe the man the balance on his contract, unless you had somebody else do it, which is absolutely fine. And I would look at that removal of debris, what it costs you, and you're absolutely entitled to that. Deducted from what you owe him, which is $4,500.
But he didn't finish the job.
Just a second. You tell me, how am I supposed to gauge how much of the job he didn't finish? Did he not complete $2,500 worth? $3,500 worth? $1,500 worth?
I think the $7,000 we paid him was overpaid. He didn't have to end up removing an entire pool. He only had to remove...
That's your problem. Just a second. I read that. You said it's not a big pool. It wasn't 8 feet. It was only 24 inches. He gave you a price to level everything. Nothing delineated, nothing in a written contract. The pool turns out to be 2 feet instead of 6 feet or 2 feet instead of 8 feet. Well, if he was the contractor and he came out and he looked at the pool, he said, oh, this is an 8-foot pool, and it turned out it's a 12-foot pool, he'd be stuck with 11.5, just like you're stuck with 11.5 because it was shallower. Now, you owe him $4,500 unless you want to produce for me bills that you have for rental equipment, et cetera, and I will absolutely deduct that from the $4,500. Just give me the bills and the amount of equipment. Don't say nothing, Mr. Retard. Mr. Rhodes, did you rent a Bobcat?
The one that I cleaned up the yard with?
Yes.
I rented a piece of equipment.
Jump up!
Yes.
And you know how they pick up metal?
No, I don't know that, sir. I'm a television personality. I don't know about people driving down the street to pick up metal. I've never had somebody drive down the street and say, I'm looking for metal. They don't even come down my street and ask if I want sharp knives.
Michael Attar has accused his former clients, Mary and Michael Rhodes, of refusing to pay for demolition work. Mary and Michael claim he never finished the job and stole their property.
Now, what did you rent?
A skip loader.
That's different from a Bobcat.
Yes, that's correct.
Smaller?
I would say bigger.
Bigger. And do you remember how much it cost you? Did you rent it from Home Depot?
No. It's from a local rental yard. I think it was
all the equipment we rented
in Ontario.
$1,300.
Yeah.
Find it.
Yeah.
Find the bill.
They didn't print it, so now I gotta.
How many days did you have it, Mr. Rhodes?
4.
I'm dismissing your counterclaim, Mrs. Rhodes. Do you want to know why? Because I asked him a specific question, and you answered. Do you understand? Do you understand? That part of your counterclaim, because you don't have it, you can't find it. So far, you owe him $4,500. Not $8,600, but $4,500. Now, do you have any proof that Mr. Attar or someone from his team stole copper piping or whatever piping that you claim was missing? Do you have any proof that either Mr. Attar or anyone under his authority took property from you?
Yes. We have text messages back and forth.
Okay, I'll read them. Okay, so what you're referring to with regard to the stolen property is you send a picture and there's a little piece of pipe there, one piece of pipe, and you say, Mike, did you or you guys happen to grind off 2 metal poles and concrete blocks? The kids use those for volleyball nets. And he says, oh my God, no, sir, but I'm guessing the person whom I gave my metal to, no problem, Michael, please give, and I don't see the rest of this message.
Yes, so that was the beginning of things we noticed that were missing.
Oh, I don't care.
And
If this is what you're talking about?
Yes, he's saying he let a metal person onto our yard, and they went and took everything that was metal.
Okay. Okay. Now, Mr. Attar.
Yes, Your Honor.
I want you to tell me about the missing metal on this property.
She was standing right there, and there was a metal guy that drives down the street. And you know how they pick up metal?
No, I don't know that, sir. I'm a television personality. I don't know about people driving down the street to pick up metal. I've never had somebody drive down the street and say, I'm looking for metal. They don't even come down my street and ask if I want sharp knives.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Very much, Your
Do you
Honor.
understand?
Very much, Your Honor.
Okay. Who is this person?
This person was picking up metal, and I asked for permission. I said, ma'am,
Just a
could he come
second.
down the property?
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Was this person picking up metal for nothing?
Yes,
Just a second. Yeah. You're a business guy. Mr. Rattar, somebody drives down the street and says, you know, I see you doing construction. Is there any metal around here that you want me to dispose of?
Yes, ma'am. They do a lot.
Yes. And then they look around. This is what you tell them. They look around and they take the metal for nothing.
Yes, ma'am. This would be cheaper for me instead of load it on my trailer and take it to the recycling metal yard.
So what metal did they take, sir? I assume
Everything
what?
that I gave him.
What
was
did you
right
give
there.
them?
Nobody went up there and cut no poles, ma'am.
Well, they sent you a picture of a pole, sir. And in response to the picture of the pole, you said, oh, my God, I'm guessing the person whom I gave my metal to.
I'm guessing.
No problem. And then you say later, tell me what it is, and I will either look high and low to get it back or replace it. That's what you say.
Yes, I offered to replace it.
That's what you say.
I offered to replace it.
Now, next question. I need an itemized list and what the value was of the metal taken.
No, there's a list of everything. They're listed in there.
What is this?
Those are all the damages, but the metal is listed in there separately of the items that are missing.
No, it isn't. This is a whole bunch of other things that you prepared for this case.
It's in there underneath. There's the horse feeder. Part of the corral was cut off.
This is something that you wrote yourself.
Yes, you said an itemized list.
If they took 6 feet of pipe, get me a bill from Home Depot for the replacement of that pipe.
Oh, I have
all the bills for the replacement of metal, not what you prepared for this litigation.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Itemized list.
Did you take down a horse corral?
No, Your Honor, I did not take no horse corral. I have nothing
Horse
to do.
corral, is that metal or is it?
It's made out of galvanized metal, yeah. They cut pieces off of that were sticking up to take to recycle, I guess.
Just a second. Was there a 4-sided horse corral?
Yes.
That looked like this?
Yes.
That they took down?
They cut pieces that were sticking up above the horse corral, attached to the horse corral.
You're being petty. You're being petty. $306, Ram's price, galvanized wall-mounted horse feeder. Did you take a horse feeder?
No, Your Honor, I got no...
Yo, Mr. Rattar, $4,500. Judgment for the plaintiff. Counterclaims dismissed. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
Well, his equipment broke, and he wanted us to rent the equipment for him.
Equipment died because things break down.
And then the next day, he calls and says he can't finish it.
At that moment, I didn't have a credit card to my name. And that's the honest truth.
So we pretty much figured that was job abandonment at that point.
I'm going to have a written contract in the future. Don't hire
Always
him.
hire a professional.
I could not believe that your first question to him when he said that he'd been working as a contractor for 14 years was, and you've been working all 14 of those years unlicensed?
Okay.
I was waiting for the question. I was waiting at the edge of my seat, and it never came.
Different minds. Yeah. Should have slipped me a note.
I should have.
You should have slipped me a note. No, that actually didn't cross my mind, but that's a good question.
Yeah. Oral contracts and no license.
No license, but there's no question. He did the work.
Yeah. No, I agree.
He did the work, and they were really dickering over who was going to absorb the cost of this second Bobcat that they had to get, which was really ridiculous. If they had had another contractor who came and completed the job,
you would have awarded that.
I would have deducted it from the $4,500 that they owed him. But absent that, the fact that he rented some sort of piece of equipment and came and cleaned up the property was not important to me, and the rest of their case was nonsense. Next time, they won't employ somebody for $11,000 from a card from your windshield.
At Home Depot.
From
Anywhere.
wherever, and not say, okay, listen, maybe I'll give him a shot. Give me 3 of your last references to call.
It's a good lesson to people out there,
I don't understand that.
Yeah.
Well, anyway.
Dean Miller is suing vehicle owner Robert Pena for damage after his 17-year-old son hit Dean's car.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2076, Miller versus Pena.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Pena, is that your son?
Yes, it is.
The one who was driving the car?
Yes.
Okay, good. You stand up next to your father. Mr. Miller, is your claim that the defendant's son hit your car that was parked in a parking lot?
Yes, Your Honor.
And it was parked in the parking lot of a high school?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you work in that high school?
Yes.
As what?
I'm a teacher.
What do you teach?
I teach what's called on-site continuation. It's a continuation classroom for 10th through 12th grade students.
Do you go to that school?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. On what date did you park your car when you allege it was hit?
That was on March 8th, Your Honor.
You were in school that day.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, you should know that in reviewing this case, Mr. Miller, because he was not there when his car was hit.
Correct.
Correct? And so he alleges that it was you who hit his car and then left the scene. Your father said it was not you who hit his car, and there's no proof that it was you who hit his car. That's what your father said. Before you answer my questions, I'm going to tell you that Mr. Miller has a video that he says was taken by school cameras that were zoned onto the parking lot that demonstrates that you actually did hit his car and leave. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
So now we're going to go back to March 8th, and you're going to tell me what happened with Mr. Miller's car.
So I drive myself to school every day, or at the time I was driving myself to school because that was my only way of getting to school.
Did you have a driver's license?
At the time, no, I did not have a driver's
So you were driving a car without a driver's license?
Yes, Your Honor.
And what kind of a car were you driving?
It was a 1991 Camaro.
Where did you get the car from?
Me and my dad had gone off the street. It was a project car.
How old are you?
17.
Did you try to take a driving test?
Yes.
When?
Back when I had turned 17, actually, in February of last year.
And you didn't pass it?
No.
Did you take the written test?
No.
What did you take in February?
The practical test.
Just the practical test, the driving test?
Yes.
And you failed that?
Yes.
So despite the fact that you failed that, you drove the car, and your father knew that you were driving the car without a license? That's a yes or a no?
Yes.
Was there insurance on this car, Mr. Pena?
No, there wasn't.
So no insurance, no license. So far, not good parenting. You understand that, Mr. Pena?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so you drove yourself to school and?
There's a parking lot that all the students, teachers, anyone who goes to school, really, they can park
Yes, nobody suggests you were trespassing in a place you weren't supposed to be.
Yeah, so every morning I would park in...
Not everyone, look at me. That day, Mr. Miller's car.
Yes, Your Honor. That day, March 8th, I came to school as usual and I parked in my area, and then one of the on-school deputies that the school has, he pulled up right behind me as I parked, and he asked me for my information, he asked me for my name, my school ID.
I want to know what happened with Mr. Miller's car.
Oh, nothing happened with Mr. Miller's car.
So what you're telling me is that you did not hit Mr. Miller's car. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, Your Honor.
What car were you driving that day?
1991 Camaro.
What color is it?
Red.
How long have you been going to that school?
It's my 4th year going.
How many other people drive a 1991 Camaro? Red. Nobody.
Nobody.
And so I'm going to watch this video. Sarah, do we have the video?
I have it. So, there. Wait, you'll see it.
Okay. You had a truck?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so there's no question you hit the truck. Do you want me to show you the video?
No, Your Honor.
Well, if you don't want to see the video, that's because you told me a lie.
Oh, yes, I'd like to see the video.
Absolutely. Going to watch very carefully, you pulling into a spot and the truck moved as you were pulling in. Have they shown you the video, Mr. Pena?
They showed me a different version of that video.
Well, I've just seen the version that I saw. Got it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Saw the truck move, did you?
Yes, it did.
When you were pulling in next to it?
Yes, I was.
When you were pulling in next to it? So that didn't happen because there was an earthquake. That happened because you hit the truck.
Yes, Your Honor.
Fine. Now we understand each other, Mr. Pena?
Yes.
Great. That's a yes. Okay. Can I see pictures of your truck, please, and the estimate to repair it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you seen the photographs?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Totally consistent, right? Okay. Mr. Miller, you're from California?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you regularly teach today?
Yes.
So you had to take a day off.
Yes, I have a substitute today, yes.
How many days off are you allowed?
10 per year. I've accumulated quite a few because I don't take many days off.
You get paid for those days?
I get compensated because I have sick days or personal necessity days.
The reason I'm asking you these questions, Mr. Miller, because it's no question that you are entitled to have your car fixed. But that's, to me, even though that's all you're requesting, I think the fact that Mr. Pena allowed his son to drive a car without insurance and without a license, not only without a license, but knowing that his son took a driving test the month before and failed it, which means that he was not a good driver. Not a good enough driver to get a driver's license. And I have a lot of people in my family that don't drive well, that I don't like to be in the car with. But they all have driver's licenses because they managed to pass a driving test. So I know that you are only requesting the $1,524, but I'm actually awarding you $2,500.
Thank you.
And that's for the aggravation of, instead of Mr. Pena saying to you, I'm sorry, my son hit your car, because either his son lied to him.
Your Honor, can I say something?
Either his son lied to him, or his son told him the truth, but he lied to me. And he's the grown-up. He set an example for his son that said it's okay to break the law. Not only for you, because you take the car to school. Take the car to school, even though you failed. Take the car to school. It has no insurance. If you hit somebody in that car and you seriously injure them, that car has no insurance. Car has no insurance. He has nothing to lose. Car has no insurance, but the person who he hit, person whose property he may have destroyed, they have no recourse. You understand, sir? That's a bad parental example. You want to say something to me or not?
Yes, I do.
I don't care that you didn't like it. That's not, as a parent, the lesson you should be teaching. And whether or not you like the way the sheriff spoke to him, that is totally irrelevant to me.
Later.
I paid as much as I could supporting him. I wasn't getting paid.
Dean Miller claims vehicle owner Robert Pena owes for damage after his 17-year-old son hit Dean's car.
Go ahead.
My thing I didn't like was how he got approached.
I don't care whether you like it or not.
That's what I didn't.
I don't care whether you like it or not. Did your son come home from school that day and say, I hit somebody's car?
No, he didn't.
No, he didn't.
Nowhere.
And just a second. And when you asked him whether he hit somebody's car, what did he tell you? Just be careful.
He said, I think. He
Just
felt
a
intimidated
second.
by
I think.
the sheriff and him.
I don't care that you didn't like it. That's not, as a parent, that's not, as a parent, the lesson you should be teaching. First of all, you allowed your son to violate the law. You allowed it. And then, I mean, I would certainly know whether I caused that much damage. He knew that that car moved. So either he lied to you or you lied to me. And whether or not you liked the way the school official spoke to him or the sheriff spoke to him, that is totally irrelevant to me. That shouldn't be the takeaway from this. The takeaway from this is you're supposed to follow the rules. The rules are meant for everybody, and that includes you and your kid. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. We're finished here.
This court is adjourned.
Police officer came behind me when I parked and accusing me that I'd hit someone.
The school deputy saw the video, knew the car, so he approached the student.
The person who I supposedly hit came out with a megaphone yelling at me.
There is no megaphone, so I don't know where that came from.
Telling me that I'd hit him. So I was kind of like freaking out. I didn't really know what to think.
If it happened to me, he could hit someone else. And
I didn't know I hit your car. Like, did I hit your car? Like, I didn't even know what to think. I could have sworn I did not.
This was fortunate that it was just a parked car in a parking lot.
It is time to get his license, yes, that's correct.
It's time to get the car fixed and just get some closure on this.
In our family, we would call that contact a love tap. And as someone who has had a few run-ins potentially with stationary objects, I will tell you...
Not potentially.
I will tell you, you know when you hit a stationary object, even if it's just a light little love tap. So I just thought it was outrageous that the defendants, father and son, they knew that there was a video and still took the position of, nope.
Well, his father's position was, I didn't like the way they spoke to my son, and therefore, I'm not responsible. They shouldn't have spoken to him. I mean, he's 17 years old, but he looks like a man. He's taller than his father, you know.
You have to take responsibility.
But you have to take responsibility and not drive a car, especially. You failed a driving test. The most basic thing. I mean, you know, we have
I will
people...
say, I did pass on the first try, so...
Yes, but we have people in our family who actually did not.
Okay, yes.
And they
will
didn't
not be
drive...
named.
And they didn't drive a car.
Yeah.
Until they could pass a driving
and
test.
And their parents were the first ones to say, no. No shot until you pass that test.
Absolutely.
So parents need to be responsible.
Giovanni Costello is suing his former friend, Jacob Knapp, for dental and medical bills.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case 2110, Costello versus Knapp.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Costello, you and Mr. Knapp were out drinking in the park.
Yes.
Date and time.
The date and time was around 3 a.m. and it was on 9/11 of 2021.
And you've known Mr. Knapp for how long?
Roughly 9 years. We started off playing high school baseball.
And when had you first met up on September 11th?
I can't remember the exact time. I would say around maybe 7 p.m.
Where?
At a bar over in Old Town Pasadena. We weren't meeting up.
Just a second.
Yeah.
So you were in a bar in Pasadena, 7 p.m. Just the two of you, or were there more people?
No.
How many were there in the whole group?
I had around 5 or 6 people in my group, and we went
all
to a
friends?
Bar. Yeah.
And you?
He wasn't a part of that group.
But you were at the bar?
No, ma'am. I was at work when he contacted me.
Okay, so you were at the bar starting at 7 with your friends. He wasn't there?
Yeah.
Okay, what time did he join you?
It wasn't, I couldn't tell you the exact time.
Approximately?
About an hour later.
At the bar?
Yeah, but it wasn't a text or anything like that. He just happened to go to the same bar.
No, ma'am. What ended up happening from the start, I was at work. He contacted me via text. I don't
Do you have that text?
No, ma'am. I tried to erase the whole memory from my mind, so I deleted all the pictures and all the text messages.
Oh, well, that's unfortunate.
Yes.
That's unfortunate. I've never done that, by the way. You know, wanted to erase something from my mind, so I didn't just say I'm not going to think about it anymore. I've never done that. Did you ever do that, Sarah?
I have not.
You have not? And she's pretty efficient with text messages. Did you ever do that?
Never have I done that.
No. Well, you must be unusual, sir. Okay, so you met at the bar. What time did you get there?
Well, my shift ended at around 9 o'clock.
What time did you get to the bar?
10 o'clock.
And when you got to the bar, you met Mr. Costello.
Yes, ma'am.
He had a few friends with him. How long did you stay at the bar?
We were there till 12.
Okay, so Mr. Costello, you had been drinking from 7 until about 12.
Correct.
The answer is yes. Yes, of course. And what's your drink of choice, sir?
Beer.
What else?
The first bar that we were at doesn't serve hard alcohol, so it was just beer there.
Okay, so from 7 to when were you at the first bar?
Yeah.
From 7 to when?
7 to when? Till 12.
12.
Yeah.
So it's 7 to 12.
At the same time as well.
Okay, so from 7 to 12 you were drinking beer.
Yeah.
And then where did you go at 12 o'clock?
After 12 o'clock, we ended up going to another bar in Arcadia.
Okay, and you stayed there from when to when?
From 12 to closing, which is 2 a.m.
And you were part of that group?
Yes, that's when I initially met the group.
At the second bar or
at the
first?
second bar, yes.
Not at the first bar?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so you got to the second bar, you were there you said you were there at 10 o'clock.
Yes.
So they weren't there when you arrived?
They were there when I arrived, yes.
Well, he said that, I thought he said he got to the second bar at 12 o'clock.
I arrived at the bar at around 10 o'clock, ma'am.
And you got there at 12 o'clock?
Yeah.
Yeah. So by the time you all got together and left the bar, you had all been drinking, you for a very long time and you for a shorter time.
Yes, ma'am.
So from 10 to 2, so 4 hours. And what's your drink of choice?
10 to 12, Your Honor. I apologize. 10 to 12.
Where did you go at 12 o'clock?
12 o'clock is when we had all decided to go to a park, kind of a low-key area.
No, he said that he went to a bar between 7 and 12. Am I correct, Whitney? Did he say? 7 and 12. He said you were at the bar, first bar, between 7 and 12, drinking beer. That's what you said.
Correct.
You said the first bar only served beer.
Mm-hmm.
Is not an answer.
Yes,
Yes is an answer. You say at 12 o'clock, you went to a second bar where you had alcohol between 12 and 2.
Yes. Correct.
Yes?
Correct.
You got to a bar at 10 o'clock.
Yes.
Which one? The beer bar or the alcohol bar?
I finished my shift, like I said, at 9, and I showed up at the bar at 10 to meet up with them, to try to rekindle an old friendship.
Okay. Yeah. I actually don't care about that. All right, so partially, you got your story straight, partially not. Anyway, you were two drunks. Now it's after 2 o'clock, and you decide to go to a park. How many people went to a park, and what park?
It was the same amount of people that I was with from the start.
And you were along at the park?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, it was.
Okay, did you take any beers to the park, or you went without them? You took beers to the park. The answer is yes.
Yeah, the main reasoning of going to the park was after the bar had closed, Jacob mentioned to the group that he had beers with him. So that incited us to go to the park and have some
to continue drinking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, prior to me showing up, I did stop by 7-Eleven and pick
Okay, so you had beers with you and you were at the bar.
Yes.
Nice, very good. Now you get to the park, you're drinking beers. Now you're going to describe what you say is the assault that you suffered at the hands of Mr. Knapp. Now, I want you to know my feeling before you told me the story.
Okay.
I usually don't get myself overly exercised about what drunks do in a park. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
I know that you may be all exercised about it, although I'm not exactly sure you're all exercised about it. So if you really are, I'm going to listen to you. If you're not, we just eliminate this case. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
If he just simply tossed me a beer, I don't understand how a beer can could chip my tooth the way that it
Just
did.
a second. I can eat a biscotti and it can chip my tooth. Biscotti, that's a cookie. And half. I mean, I could chip my tooth on my grandmother's steak. It was so hard.
Giovanni Costello claims his former friend, Jacob Knapp, owes for dental bills after being hit in the mouth with a beer can.
Okay, go. You're in the park, drunk. He's in the park, drunk.
Yes.
And?
To state I was not drunk because I was driving my witness here.
I want to tell you something. If you were drinking from 7 to 2, you were drunk.
I hadn't been drinking the whole time that I was there.
Let's go.
So going into it, I was sitting at a park bench with Maureen here. And then I had another 2 friends that were on the other side. And we're hanging out. They had the 2 across from me got up. They went further into the park, and I was sitting with just her alone. And I was just about to show her a video off my phone. Next thing I know, I get hit in the face by a beer. After that occurs, I reach to my mouth to see something's wrong there, and I feel that like a part of my tooth is missing.
Okay, and that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
That's the assault that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And you allege that Mr. Knapp was the one who threw the beer bottle.
Yes.
Okay.
It was a full beer can.
A can?
Yeah, not bottle.
Did you report this incident to the police?
I did not take it to the police
Just
because...
a second, I'm just asking you.
Oh, sorry.
The answer is no.
No.
I disagree.
Disagree that he went to the police?
With his story.
Okay, I'll get there. Okay, so now you get hit in the face with a beer can, step by step. You look down, you look at your tooth.
Realize it's chipped. I say out loud, my tooth is chipped. She doesn't...
Don't tell me not
first.
about she. Just you.
Just me. I noticed it was chipped. And then after I announced that it was chipped, several of my friends, I guess, went towards him. And I don't know.
You didn't tell me anything about him. You didn't tell me. You just said you got hit in the face with a beer can.
Yeah.
That's all you said to me.
And he was the only other person that was standing right there, besides her sitting next to me.
So you didn't see him throw the beer can at you?
There was no one else there.
I'm just...
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I didn't see him throw it at me, but there was never a case of...
No, you didn't.
Of anything
That's
else.
all.
Yeah.
You didn't see him throw it at you?
No.
Okay, go.
From the park, Your Honor?
Take it from the park.
So
now I got 2 drunks in the park, maybe 3.
There was actually more than just 3 of us surrounding the table.
Just a second.
Me and him.
Go slowly.
Okay, sorry.
Slower.
Let me take
I
it
don't
down a
know
notch.
table. I have no idea what you're talking about.
So, as he was saying, we were sitting at a park bench. I had brought the beer. The beer was next to me. He had asked me to toss him a beer. And that's plainly what I did was I underhanded him lightly a beer to him. And in his defense, he's saying he wasn't drunk, but it definitely was apparent that he was. When you lightly
Anybody who's been
toss a
drinking
beer,
from 7 to 2 in the morning is drunk.
Yes, ma'am. So I lightly tossed him a beer, and unfortunately it was dark enough to where he had missed, and the beer had hit him in the face, which after immediately I started to apologize to him, stating that I didn't mean to, but it was apparent he was looking at me and did not catch the beer. So personally, I think everything he said to you right now was...
That's your story. You tossed him a beer because he asked you. He said, toss me a beer.
Yes, Your Honor.
And it was dark.
Yes.
And you were drunk. And he was drunk.
I wasn't drunk, Your Honor. I had 4 beers. within the time of 10 o'clock till when this incident happened?
You know, I'm not real comfortable with that, sir.
Okay.
Because according to you had been drinking for 4 hours. And not only were you drinking for 4 hours, but you brought extra alcohol to have in the park. By the way.
Which was a closed container.
Where do you live? In what
In Pasadena, Your Honor.
In California. Are you allowed to drink alcohol in parks in California?
I'm not certain.
Well, let's find out. Open beer cans in city parks in California.
That's a no.
So after...
We're not talking yet.
I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Drinking alcoholic beverages is a prohibited activity in parks and park areas, according to the Pasadena City Park rules.
Thank you. This park that you went to, what's the name of it?
I'm not sure. It was up the street from the last bar we were at.
Okay. Now, did you, Mr. Costello, and the defendant, immediately after this event, did you communicate with him via text or email?
I texted him, I think it was roughly a couple of days later.
Okay. I'd like to see the text.
I have that.
That's all I want to see. Don't say anything else.
Okay.
Just show me the texts that you sent him a couple of days later.
There it is.
Okay. Thanks, Kevin. I'd like to see these texts from your phone, and I'd like to see all your text messages starting September 14th.
It's right here.
Of 2021. No, sir, you have to understand. What you said to me here, what you gave me, is 2 texts a year apart. I want to see the texts to him.
There was nothing.
After September 14th, you mean he didn't respond at all to this? I don't believe that.
My next thing that I did was I sent a letter through the mail, and I have that here, and I have proof of it where I had it so where he had to sign for it, and I have the receipt for it as well.
What date?
That one, I can pull it up right here.
I'm sorry, what letter? I never received a letter.
Just a second. So what you're telling me is that I'm supposed to believe that after you sent this email on September 14th, which is 3 days after the event, he never responded to you, and you never sent a follow-up email or text.
That was the letter. And in the letter I gave him...
Shh, just a second.
Okay.
Oh, here. Take this back. It's nonsense. I don't want to see something prepared for litigation, sir. You said you had a document that you sent to him that he had to sign for. If you sent him a letter, return receipt requested, then you have a return receipt requested with a signature on it. That's a document that you prepared 2 days ago.
I have the receipt in here.
Let's get it.
Okay.
I never signed such document.
Just don't shout out again.
Yes, ma'am.
It's annoying, and I'm annoyed enough with this case.
I'm sorry for being so unorganized.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm sorry you're so unorganized, too. Or disorganized.
Oh, here it is.
Great.
Certified mail. They're stuck to the back one.
This was sent April of 2022. I want to see what the response was. There had to be a response.
I never got a
since
response
September
from him.
14th, 2021. There had to be a response.
I never got a response from him.
Kevin, show this to Mr. Knapp and tell me if he recalls this text message.
Your Honor, no, I do not remember getting this text.
Why would you respond a year later? I know from the past, dealing with Mr. Knapp here, he tends to always, being friends, whenever get into an altercation or argument, he unfollows me, blocks me on everything. Okay. So there's a possibility by that text message not going through.
I don't deal in possibilities, sir.
I sent the text message, and I have proof of there. It was delivered, and I never got a response from him.
I'm just asking.
Yeah.
Sir, this incident happened September 11th. You have to understand, I think that if that's what happened. I tend to believe that the defendant did not just willy-nilly take a can and fling it at your face. I want you to know that I don't believe that. You were stupid enough to throw the beer can in his direction. You're two drunks, that's what happens. So don't get so drunk and go to a park. How
Giovanni Costello has accused his former friend, Jacob Knapp, of hitting him with a beer can. Jacob says Giovanni asked him to throw it.
Okay, it is more likely than not that you were sitting with this lady who, according to you, you were supposed to drive home. Mm-hmm. That's what you said 5 minutes ago. So you were supposed to drive home, which means she was trashed, because that's what you said. You said, I wasn't...
the arrangements from the very beginning of the night.
Okay. Do you understand? So we had a whole bunch of trashed people. And I am more likely to believe the defendant when he says you said to him, toss me a beer, and it accidentally hit you in the face.
My questioning is that the...
I don't answer questions.
Okay, well, where the beer was placed on the table, I don't understand why I would have to ask him to toss me a beer when I can simply reach over and grab one myself.
I don't know either. But it sounds more likely to me than not that it was his beer, he brought it there, and you said to him, toss me a beer, and you failed to catch it. Now, that doesn't mean that the defendant isn't at least partially responsible for the stupidity of that night. But you have some responsibility, too, because I really don't believe that he left the bar. He was angry and frustrated over something that you had no idea what he was angry and frustrated over, because you were all sitting together, and he just, out of the blue, took a beer and threw it at your face. I don't believe that. Do you understand?
If I could show you a picture here, you could see that if he just simply tossed me a beer, I don't understand how a beer can could chip my tooth the way that it did.
Just a second. Mm-hmm. It can. It can.
Okay.
I can eat a biscotti and it can chip my tooth. Biscotti, that's a cookie, a very hard cookie. And have. Mm-hmm. And have. I mean, I could chip my tooth on my grandmother's steak, it was so hard. But certainly from a beer can. So I don't believe that you're blameless. What was your dental bill, sir?
I have the statements here.
While he's looking for that, you understand that if you were sitting there and instead of a bunch of beer cans and the plaintiff said to you, you know, that gun that's in your pocket, toss it over to me, I want to take a look at it. And you did. You took a gun out of your pocket and you tossed it over to him, and as you were tossing it over, it accidentally fired. Would it be his fault if he got shot?
No.
No. Whose fault would it be?
Mine.
Right. Because you weren't supposed to do that. Because it was potentially dangerous.
Of course.
Well, same thing with a knife or an explosive device.
Right.
Or something very hot, like toss me a cup of coffee in a container and it splatters. So you don't do what anybody asks you to do if it's not a smart thing to do.
Right.
Unless you're drunk. Unless you're drunk.
Your Honor,
then,
if I may.
Yeah.
Coming from a baseball background, such as me and Gio did.
I don't care about your baseball background. There's no question, sir, that you acknowledge you threw it at him. And I'm telling you that if your excuse is that he asked me to do it, so I followed the fool's directions. I'm telling you, he's going to pay part of his dental bill, because I think it was partially his responsibility. But if you acknowledge that you were stupid enough to throw the beer can in his direction, you have to be partially liable. You're two drunks, that's what happens. So don't get so drunk and go to a park. How old are you?
27.
27 is, and you?
28, Your Honor.
28. You know, old enough not to be so stupid. You know, you can figure 17, 18-year-olds are so stupid. At age 28, you should be doing something constructive. I assume you work?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a chef.
And you?
I'm a lumberman, Your Honor.
Okay, so you're both gainfully employed, letting off a little steam. That's fine. But if there's a problem that develops because anybody is not operating on all cylinders because of alcohol, you have to take responsibility. What was the dental bill?
My dental bill came out to $2,342.
Can I see that, please, Kevin?
I have this here. I'll give you both.
Was any of this dental bill covered by insurance?
On the dental, no.
Okay. Anything else?
My wholeheartedly truth is I didn't ask him for a beer. I had no problems. I was avoiding him the whole night for the most part because from the past, Jacob has had a way worse drinking problem than I've ever gotten to. I went out that night solely to have a couple drinks, hang out with friends. The night went longer than expected.
Very nice. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,171, which is half of your dental bill. You pay half. Don't get drunk. You're too old to get drunk. I don't believe that he maliciously threw this at you. I think that you asked for a beer, tossed it at you, and you missed. That was his stupidity and yours. We're done here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Honor.
This court is adjourned.
All I did was I underhand lightly tossed it over to him, and that's really what happened.
I did nothing wrong to deserve to get a beer thrown in my face like a baseball.
Unfortunately, he chipped his tooth, and so it was unfortunate.
I said, hey, Jacob, look, like, you chipped my tooth. Like, look what you just did.
No more drinking in the parks, guys.
Not to do it again.
I think this situation is the exact reason cities like Pasadena have rules about drinking alcohol in parks, because like you always say, it's not an on purpose, it's an accident. But a lot of times there are certain things that can increase the probability of an accident happening.
True.
And I think drinking at 2 a.m. in a park probably is one of those things.
That's true. So that's a... So
Hi, chào các bạn. Chào mừng các bạn đến kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta cùng tô màu bức tranh chú mèo Hello Kitty cạnh những hộp quà màu hồng và nâu. Màu vàng và bông hoa. Xanh và cuống. Nơ màu đỏ. Màu hồng và chữ nơi bên cạnh. chúng ta đã hoàn thành xong bức tranh chủ nhà Hello Kitty bên hộp quà. Và đây là thành quả ngày hôm nay. Hẹn gặp lại các bạn ở những video tiếp theo.